Welcome into the Boom Bust Dynasty show. How is everyone doing today? It's a Monday, July 20th, and we've got your trade questions and your team reviews. We've got them queued up. We've got a queue of 14 trades in the queue already. If you are looking to get your trade added into the queue for the show tonight, submit it right here. It is on your screen. It is free to make your account. It is easy to get your trade submitted. We got POA on the Twitch chat saying, "What's up, boss? How are you? How are you? How are you? How are you feeling about your team?" We just finished up a startup together for Boom Bust 10. And I think this week we might be able to this week open up Boom Bust 11 for folks looking to join a startup. Let's not waste any more time though, or just dilly-dally any longer. Let's get a trade on the board and then we'll show you how to get your trades added in. First trade of the show comes in from Cam Cooper. It's on your screen. It's a 12-team Superflex start 10, half-point PPR, no tight end premium. What are we doing on this deal? On one side, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, and a 27 second. And on the other side, Baker Mayfield, DeAndre Swift, and Jordan Addison. Now, the notes on this trade say that they're looking to add some running back and QB depth. If you're on the TikTok feed, the question comes in from the side with Sam Laporta. On YouTube and on Twitch, you can see the roster of the person asking the question. How are you guys feeling about this deal? I know which side I like. It's a pretty close trade, but I am fine with moving on from Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, and a 27 projected mid-second to bring in Mayfield, Swift, and Addison. This is a team that has the value and does not actually have a strong second quarterback. They have Geno Smith in a super flex to be their second option. I am fine taking the Baker Mayfield side here. We do lose a little bit. I like Sam Laporta. I like him as a bounce back candidate. And Jameson Williams had a really good second half of the year, but I'm fine with doing this. And I like Jordan Addison as a value bounce back, value rising possibility. So I'm taking the Addison Mayfield side here, especially for a team that is looking to add in a quarterback. I don't know that I need DeAndre Swift on this roster. They've got Judkins, Breece Hall, Bucky Irving. I guess, yeah, maybe from that, as those three, I'd be okay with bringing in Swift. I like this deal. See a couple trade questions coming in from the chat. If you guys are looking to have your trade question covered, here's where we do it. We do this on our site. That's how we make the overlays that were just popped up there on our site, boombustfantasy.com. It is incredibly easy to make your account. You hit get started. It's right here. Now I'm using Google Chrome. I'm logged in with my Gmail. So all I need to do is click continue with Google and it's going to create my account using my Gmail. It created the account. I type in my sleeper username and it's going to go and pull all of the leagues that I'm in. Once you load that up, it's just asking you, hey, which league do you want to show first? We're going to have a My League page, a My Team page. Which league do you want to see first? I'm scanning for it. Why don't I see? There it is. And then we have an option to connect to Discord where you can post your trade questions straight to Discord with a link to your league scoring and a link back to your actual roster. We've got that as well, but we skip that for the demo. And then is this just broken on the demo version? Let me see if I can get this to, I think we had this issue last week where only this specific demo version that I use has an issue. So let's just pivot to right here. Once you're logged in, it'll show you your team. And if you want to get your trade added on the show, you just go to trade advice and you type it in like any trade calculator. You hit request expert review and submit for review, and that will add your trade to the queue. That's as easy as it goes. We got Ryan saying, do you like Little or Stowers more? Doing a startup right now? Is that Kittle? Little. Justin, if you got a trade question, we just went over how to get your trades into the queue. We've got a queue of 14 trade questions right now. So we'll keep going on that. Let me know which player that is, Ryan. If it's Kittle, probably Kittle in a startup. Let's get the next trade on the board from Khushp. I think that's how you say it. IDF Indian Dynasty Fantasy is the 10-team Superflex 6-point passing touchdown start 9. So it's a shallower league. In this trade, we're looking at Puka Nacua and Javonte Williams on one side. And then on the reverse, it's 2 first-round picks, a 27 and a 28, Chase Brown and Devonta Smith. Is this enough for you guys to move on from Puka? I don't know that I would be. I don't know that I would be. I'm not sure that that would be enough for me. And in a league like this where it's 10-team start 9, it's a much shallower thing. So at that spot, Puka Nacua is going to be one of the most valuable pieces. He's definitely the most valuable piece in this trade. And in a shallower league where we're only starting 90 players each week, those top tier assets just have more value because they score much more. Their value is much harder to replace. Where someone much further down, like Javonte Williams or Devonta Smith, starts to get into the replaceable tier. They're not fully there, but they're much closer than the guys at the top. So when we put the scoring on the screen in a 10-team start 9, we push the value up. So Puka and Javonte Williams, it's close to enough value, but I don't know that I'm necessarily doing this. Like if I have Puka Nacua with this team, am I looking to move Puka for Javonte Williams to bring in? I don't know that I am. This would spread out some of the value. You bring in Devonta Smith, Chase Brown, and 2 extra firsts if we're trying to tear this down. I think if I'm going into this and I'm viewing this as some sort of rebuilding trade, this is close to enough, but I think I'm staying with Puka. Typically, I'm staying with Puka, or I'd ask them to throw more on because I bet they would. I bet they would put more on that side. Let's clear that one off the board. We've set that one through. We do a bit of housekeeping to get the queue cleared up. We'll review that one. There we go. The trade queue now sits at 12. If you're looking to get your trade questions put onto the show, you can do that. It's right here on the screen on the TikTok feed. It's right there. It's easy to do. On the Twitch and YouTube feeds, you can check your spot in the queue along the top of the screen. Mart's saying, creep up the great content. Hey, thank you, Mart's. Thank you, Mart's. Dallas, who would you try to upgrade from Marvin Harrison in a 27 first? I'll show you how I do that. Dallas has a question. If you've got a player and a 20s and a first round pick, how do you try to figure out who to upgrade from? Here is what I do. Whoops, wrong. We're just going to have to clear that one out. Here is where I look. We have our trade builder. So if you have your league and you've got Marvin Harrison and a future first and you want to know who you can get, I don't have a team pulled up here, but if you're looking for trade ideas, we have our trade builder on our site. You can log in, just like we showed you, connect your sleeper account. This is a free to use tool. But if you want to answer questions like how much should I get for, say, Bucky Irving and a 27 first, it shows your team on the left, and then it builds out trade packages based on what you're offering up using the actual rosters in your league and the scoring of your league. So if I just wanted to use a first round pick and Bucky and get an idea of what the market rates are, like what sort of running back could I get back, Bucky Irving and a first for Omari and Hampton is a fair value trade. I might not get that deal to go through, but it is presented with fair value trades and the range that I would be looking in. Hampton, Achane, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, all in that range for Bucky Irving and a 27 first. You can check that one out. I think that was, I don't recall who had asked that one. That was Dallas Moore. Let's take a look at the next trade question. If you've got trade questions in the chat, we do not pull them from the chat. You can see on your screen where to put your trade questions. And we'll pull the next one up here from Yacht Possum. I like the Yacht Possums. I like the Yacht Possum. The trade is in a 10-team, 2-quarterback, start 11, PPR, half-point tight end premium, Jalen Hurts and a 27 third, or Daniel Jones and Fernando Mendoza. And I can't imagine not taking the Jalen Hurts side on this deal. I'm not sure why we would have to even send in a 27 third to get Mendoza and Daniel Jones. This one feels just slam dunk to me. Like Jalen Hurts is just a much better quarterback than either one of those. I don't know how long Daniel Jones will be the starter for the Colts or how he'll be when he returns this year after multiple leg injuries, broken leg, Achilles issue. We've seen plenty of players have Achilles issues and not come back quickly. Maybe that was because they were much older than Daniel Jones. But it would surprise me if Jones came back and picked up right where he left off, where the Colts were in first place. I think they were 8-2. That would really surprise me if he got right back to that. And then I'm not sure when Mendoza is starting this year. And I just like Jalen Hurts much more than the market has been. All offseason, people have been telling me they do not want Jalen Hurts. I don't get it. He runs. The same thing that makes Daniel Jones valuable in fantasy is his rushing. Like Jalen Hurts just does that and does that better. I'm sticking with Hurts here. This was a trade where someone would have been trading away Jalen Hurts to bring in Mendoza and Daniel Jones. My brain kept saying Jaden Daniels. It's just the inverse of the initials. Jaden Daniels, Daniel Jones, and there's Daniel in both of them. So I would say with Jalen Hurts. And if I'm trying to move on from Jalen Hurts, I kind of would rather have something that is going to be going up in value for sure or easy to trade. Like maybe Mendoza goes up in value. I'm not sure that he does if he's not starting in week 1. We got the next trade from 10 Spencer 10. Let's take a look in a 12-team super flex. Start 10 PPR full point tight end premium. So a tight end, there's no tight ends in this trade, but they would get a full point every time they catch the ball. And it does somewhat change the values even for players that are not tight ends. But are we moving Cam Scatterbo and a projected late 27 first for Devontae Adams and Christian McCaffrey? I don't know that I am. I think I'm staying the Scatterbo in the first. I think I'm staying Scatterbo in the first here. Is there anybody taking the other side in the chat? Because this is a pretty close one. It wouldn't surprise me if someone else took the other side. Let me take a look at the team. This is someone who has McCaffrey, who has Devontae Adams asking the question. The retirement club is the team, 10 Spencer 10. Would I be fine moving Adams and McCaffrey for Scatterbo in a first? Yeah. If we're trying to get younger and pull out of the final, although is this team contending? Stroud, Daniel Jones at quarterback, Geno Smith. You're okay at running back. I think if you're just trying to get younger, this move isn't a bad move. If win now, no, but younger, yes. Team Money, you can just see the rosters. TikTok will show you the feed for like easily. It's just people scrolling through. They come in. I just can't put the entire roster on the TikTok screen. There's just literally not enough space. But on YouTube and on Twitch, like, you can just look at the roster. It's right here. It's right there. And I think I'm okay with the youth movement there. I am all right with that. Let's take a look at the trade queue. We've got trades have been coming in. Did I miss one from Colton? I see Colton's question on YouTube. Trades have been coming in. We got 13 trades in the queue, so we're going to try to keep moving. We typically fall behind on Mondays. I think that one just finished up. Make sure that goes through. I have to click them as done, and I don't always. So let me double check that I got that one marked as done. The queue is sitting at 12 trades in the queue. We'll do one from D Machine, and then we do have a team review that came through, and we'll pull that up and go through it. But let's take a look at a couple questions in the chat. Let's catch up here. Like, let's see. Colton, do you like Tet McMillan or Ibuka more? I like Tet more. No particular reason. Just better performance last year. We saw a ton of targets to him. I don't see a reason for things to get notably worse. And if we're seeing Ibuka get better this year, I think he gets up to the level that Ted is already at. He could definitely surpass him. Like, yeah, that's in the cards. but I'll take the player that's done more. In a keeper league, Dappy Duck, keep 2. Puka, Justin Jefferson, and CD. I would take Puka and CD. Lakin, in a 16-man keeper, thoughts on drafting Tyler Shuck late as a quarterback breakout? I don't necessarily love Tyler Shuck a ton. It's not going to hurt you. There might be other guys that I would draft ahead of him. He'd probably be, if I'm drafting for a keeper, drafting someone late, he'd be like QB 20 in my rankings. I'm not that excited about him. Let's go with D Machine, and then we will hit a team review after that. Got the trade question coming in from D Machine. It should be popping up on your screen right here. Right here. It's team not available. Let's double check and see if it can get that. It's active Dynasty Superflex. Did the league go away? I've never seen it say team not available. That's weird. Steven Scherzer, I see you in the chat. We will cover those. Let me see if it there's just an issue with just this one trade, or if there's something specific about D Machine's league that is causing, yeah, it can't get the rosters. So we'll take a look at the trade here. In a 12-team Superflex, start 9. PPR, no tight end premium. How are you guys feeling about this move? Amon-Ra St. Brown and Cam Scatterbo, or Jeremiah Love and Carnell Tate? This is like we could put a poll here and it would be pretty even. And I think I'm taking the Amon-Ra side. It's incredibly close. Which are you guys taking, Amon-Ra or Jeremiah Love in this deal? 12-team Superflex, start 9. Which side of this do you want to be on? There's more upside. Actually, I couldn't even tell you which one has more upside. Bobby Cash is saying Amon-Ra. That's the side I'm leaning. This is a very even value. We're looking. I mean, I want to look at the rosters. I can't, for some reason, can't see D Machine's league. I'm gonna make a note of the trade number, 1249. Maybe the league is set to private. I'm not sure. Where I couldn't pull the rosters. But this is incredibly even. If we're trying to just reset, I mean, if we're resetting to get younger and we're hoping for the upside, I could understand why someone would take Jeremiah Love and Carnell Tate. And if I'm ranking the players that I'm taking at their prices in a dynasty startup, I would probably go Amon-Ra. I like where Tate is going, his value. Like I like the value on Tate. And then Scatterbo and then Jeremiah Love, I think it has the furthest gap from where he's getting drafted to how I like him. I think I'm taking this slight edge on Amon-Ra and Cam Scatterbo. There's still a ton of upside on the Scatterbo side, where we're looking at Jeremiah Love becoming one of the top running back options, Carnell Tate becoming one of the top wide receiver options. I think I still see a bunch of upside with Cam Scatterbo, enough to kind of counteract that, where I'd be fine just sticking with that side of the deal. And we said we would pivot to team review. Dylan, did we already do Dylpickles 69? If it's the submitter name, I don't see. Oh, no, we haven't gotten to that one yet. It's on the YouTube feed. You can check your spot in the queue. It scrolls. I keep pointing up because it scrolls across the top of the page at all times. But let's jump to a team review. Sometimes people ask their trade questions. Sometimes they submit their team and say, hey, what can I do? How can I make this team better? Am I contending this year? Where can I go from here? And we offer that. So we'll pull this up. We've got a team review coming in from, the team is Quarterback U. Quarterback University. We'll switch to this. And here is what we do with our team reviews. We've got the entire leagues of rosters pulled up here. We'll go through these. Here is the team who submitted their team for review. They are in a 10-team Superflex start 9, half-point PPR, half-point tight end premium. And what we do for our team reviews is we go through position by position, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and future picks. And we come up with a 4-star rating, 0 stars through 4 stars. And it's a combination of projected production for 2026, as well as tradable value. And you'll see that when we cover quarterbacks. There's a ton of quarterbacks here. You will get a good rating on the quarterbacks, but it's also, we're going to need to make some trades. A lot of this is just tradable value. So once we have that, we'll look at your team, the state of the league, and try to come up with, are we contending? Are we retooling? Are we full on rebuilding? And get a gauge of when we can get you back into contention and the moves that I would make if I were the manager of this team. So we go over it on video. We talk a lot on video, and then there's a full write-up that gets sent out tomorrow. Within 24 hours, we send out a full write-up with a list of like, hey, these are the real trades based on your league and the rosters in your league that I would be sending out and why. So if you've submitted your team for review, you can find that under my advice right here. I'll open that up and it will be on the My Advice under team reviews. For me, it shows every team that I have reviewed. For you, it'll just show the ones that you submitted. And you'll be able to click on that and get a gauge of, like, here's an example of one. We sent out some marching orders. It's having an issue pulling the rosters for the team. Wonder why it wouldn't do that. Take a look at touchdown housing. Not sure if there's an issue with pulling rosters right now. It should be showing the entire roster here and then a list of all the trades and why we would offer up those trades. So we'll take a look at why it wouldn't have that on there, but that is concerning to me because we haven't pushed out any changes. All right, so for quarterback let's go through it. For quarterbacks, we got Patrick Mahomes, going to be a little bit injured to start the year, maybe misses a couple games. Brock Purdy, Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck, Malik Willis, Anthony Richardson, and Deshaun Watson and Carson Beck all have a shot to have actual value this year. So we'll go down the list. Like Brock Purdy missed a lot of time last year, but then was able to consistently convert in the red zone to get touchdowns, like wound up being one of the top pocket passers last year. He doesn't run a lot. So when we're looking at fantasy quarterbacks, you can get a lot of upside from a bad quarterback who can just run. I don't know that we're really getting any sort of rushing from Brock Purdy. And the same is kind of true with Cam Ward. These are just different ends of the young pocket passer blob of quarterbacks. So this would be guys like Brock Purdy near the top, Trevor Lawrence ahead of him, Purdy, Love, Sam Darnold kind of in the same mix, and then CJ Stroud, Cam Ward. And honestly, they're all kind of interchangeable to me. Last year, people were saying, man, I have CJ Stroud. I had multiple people say, should I be up tiering? I had multiple people last offseason saying, man, I have Brock Purdy. Should I be up tiering to someone like CJ Stroud? And multiple times last year, I had to say, like, no, these guys are interchangeable and they flip out each year. Who actually ends up throwing more touchdowns? So right now, Brock Purdy's coming off of a year where he did throw a lot of touchdowns in the games that he played. That doesn't mean that he'll repeat it. Oh, we'll also add Tyler Shuck into that young pocket passer, kind of just blob of guys. The market has their ranking of them. People in your league might have different rankings. And that's one of the things that I tell Dynasty managers to do. Like, just check in on quarterback pricing. That's probably one of the spots where in your individual league, managers are going to have values that are far different than just standard ranks that they might find online. And that's not always true with running backs. There's typically more agreement with running back rankings than there is with quarterback rankings. So I've given a rating of the quarterbacks here as like 3. We have 2 starters in a 10-team Superflex, Mahomes and Purdy. That is a pair that's good enough to start. And then we just have a ton of value here that we probably want to be moving, trading. Malik Willis, Tyler Shuck. If Deshaun Watson is named the starter and you're able to get anything for him, yes. If Jacoby Brissett eventually gets benched and they bring Carson back in, like, yes, then that's something that we want to be moving on from, because I'm not sure Carson Beck is the starter next year, even if he gets the chance to start this year. Really, with all of the, one thing that we want to consider is with quarterbacks, it's about 10 every year, that 10 teams that start a different quarterback in week one each year. There's a lot of turnover. So someone like Jacoby Brissett is a new starter for a team this year. He probably won't be the starter going into 2027. And if Carson Beck starts games this year, there's a very good chance he's not the starter. So with a lot of these situations, I think I feel the same way about Malik Willis. He's the starter going into this year. I don't know that he is the starter going into next year. So I would be fine moving on from Malik Willis. Carson Beck, if you can get any sort of value from Deshaun Watson. If Anthony Richardson is starting, he might be someone that I'm just holding on to and looking at him to get traded in the offseason to move on and have like a second shot in his career somewhere else, because I don't know that we're actually getting that much for him. So let's move to running backs, where you've got Jeremiah Love, Javonte Williams, Caleb Johnson, a player that I really wanted to be good, but has done nothing. Isaiah Pacheco, someone that I released a video on as a potential stash. I think that one came out today. A good stash option to go up in value this year. And then Damon Claiborne. This is really like a 2 at running back. We're getting all of the heavy lifting from Jeremiah Love, and then Javonte Williams is a good second back. But in a league as shallow as this one, where it's 10 teams start 9, we want higher tier players to get us into that 3 rating. We want this to be more like a much better top 2 or a much better third option. Like a Bucky Irving on this team would get you up to a 3 rating as your third running back, because we don't really have anything to cover bye weeks here. Maybe Isaiah Pacheco, but even then, that's a week by week fill in, given the size of the league, the types of players that would be getting started in as bye week fill-ins. And wide receivers, this is where we have value. This is where we have production. We got Drake London, Rashee Rice, AJ Brown, Jordan Addison, Christian Watson. We're feeling good about the top 5 there. And then Ricky Pearsall maybe bounces back or breaks out in his 3rd year. I want to say it's his 3rd year. Travis Hunter could still have a role. I think his value's been diminished based on people's concerns of what he will be, but he could easily still have a role. And then Chris Bell for Miami. I'm not holding my breath that he becomes anything. Typically when we get teams that don't have wide receivers, the market or generally dynasty managers start to say, well, like, it has to be someone, and they might be good. And the reality is, like, sometimes it's just the career path of like Darnell Mooney. Maybe that's what you get from Chris Bell, and that's the high end. I'm a Bears fan. Here's some Chicago gear on me. That we've had plenty of Bears years where they just don't have a receiver 1. And that's kind of the situation Miami's in. So even though there is a guy, that doesn't mean there's always going to be fantasy success at wide receiver. We can just look one player down to Jack Bash and see, hey, we can have a team that just doesn't have a usable wide receiver. So it wouldn't surprise me if in a year where like Chris Bell is like, oh, we don't care about him at all. The same way we don't really with Jack Bash, even though the team needs a wide receiver. I put this down as a 3. We have a lot of value here and a lot of value rising assets in someone like Jordan Addison, Christian Watson as a value riser to really show out this year without being injured. And then possible value rising with Pearsall and Travis Hunter. Like for what I've seen on your team, like we want to have some value rising assets. At tight ends, it's just Gadsden, Brenton Strange, Travis Kelce, who's producing. I see you traded for Kelce back in April. Just took a couple, like a 26th third to grab a 28th third in Travis Kelce. Maybe we can then move Travis Kelce to a contender. We'll take a look at some options like that. At tight end, we're feeling like it's still pretty weak overall for what you'll have next year or production that we expect from this year. I like Oronde Gadsden. I don't know that he's going to be the breakout for the Chargers. I have a hunch that it could be him. And then other options here, like Greg Dulcich. If we could move on from Greg Dulcich at this point, I probably would. Every offseason, there's a player like a Greg Dulcich at tight end that people are really excited about that doesn't really ever become anything. In the past year, last year was Evan Engram. I try not to go too far back on my overhyped tight end players each year, because once we start getting into, the other names that have been around in years before that are now back, like Chiga Okonkwo is back on a different team, and now we think he'll break out. I don't know that he will. He's been the Greg Dulcich of past years and has done nothing. Most of the time, these tight ends don't do anything. So if we can just trade that, we probably want to be doing something like that. When we look at your picks, 2 first-round picks next year. You've got your own. You've got one from Perfect Timing, who also looks to have a weaker roster this year. We'll go over these charts in just a minute. And then what is this? 1, 2, 3 second-round picks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 third-round picks. Like a lot of value next year. 2028, 3 second-round picks, your own first, and another 5 thirds. Like, we're feeling all right at picks. I give that like a rating of a 3. If we had a couple more firsts, that'd be the 4, and that's typically what we do with rebuilding squads. So where does that put your team for this year? On our site, we have 2 graphs that we go over. We call it the lineup power, which pulls projected scoring for your players and the scoring settings of your league. So 10 teams start 9. It tries to find like, hey, who are your best top 2 quarterbacks? Who's your best starting 9 lineup, and what's the point projection for this year? And where does that stack up against the rest of the league? And with the team here, quarterback U, it's at the bottom. We're not feeling great about this year. If we look at dynasty value, which is just trade market of the assets that are on your team, we're at the top. We're at the top. Sometimes we get into a situation like this where we have enough picks to then trade to a contending roster. I'm not sure that that's the situation here. Is it possible that we take these 5 third-round picks, these extra second-round picks, and can up tier and claw our way to a edge case contending team? Yeah, I can't say that that's not possible. If we're bringing in players like Travis Kelce, who you already have, is it possible that we could grab some vets and bring them in and borderline contend? Yeah, I think this is still a retool in 2026 and then a long contending run. We're going into 2027. We start taking all these 2028 picks and and swapping them out for players for next year's version of Devontae Adams, of Derrick Henry, which might be Saquon next year, getting another year older. Maybe it's still Christian McCaffrey. I'm not sure, but we're bringing in veterans next year. So in this year, what are my goals with this roster? I see some folks in the chat asking about team reviews getting covered tonight. Yeah, we would cover them tonight if they came through. They would for sure get covered tonight. I think that came from Dylan and one from Jay Hawkson. Sent your team in there. How can I get you to look at it? If your team is in there, we'll get to it. We've got a queue of trade questions and a queue of team reviews, and we will close both queues tonight. We'll clear them out. So the goals that I would have with the roster like this is finding players like, I kind of like Isaiah Pacheco as a value rising option. He's not going to become worth a ton, but you pay nothing for him, and then you get some value later this year. I also like Jordan Addison as a player whose value dipped really hard from having JJ McCarthy as a starting quarterback to someone who could just go back to being a wide receiver 2. Not a top wide receiver 2, but Jordan Addison has finished as a top 24 wide receiver in the first 2 years he was in the league. And then last year with a suspension with JJ McCarthy starting a lot of games, he was not a top 24 wide receiver, but he's shown that skill set to be there, even with someone like Justin Jefferson there. So we're going to try to what we're going to do with trades here is come up with a list of players like who is likely to lose value or who has good odds to lose value on this team. And can we move those players away and bring in players that are either going to maintain value, go up in value, or just swap to picks? And with a team like this one, I don't know that I need them to be 27 picks. I don't even really need them to be 28 picks. I'd be okay with bringing in 2029s if I couldn't get 2028s, because what we're going to be looking to do is just taking a lot of the value that we have when we go to like market tradable value and get it into a spot where we're not going to lose any more value in 2026. We want to stop any value bleeding that we have and do as much as we can to get to value rising assets. And if we bring in 2028 and 2029 first round picks, we don't have to wait until that year to make those picks. If you trade for a 2028 pick right now, you can just trade it for more next offseason. So if we could do that with Malik Willis, great, because there's a real chance that he does not have the starting job after this year. And we want to mitigate value loss as much as we can. With that said, we could do things like move on from AJ Brown, who's a strong contending roster piece, and use that to pair with Malik Willis, pair him with Tyler Shuck, pair him with some of these other options. And what we don't want to do is just stick to, well, I need these quarterbacks. If we're not looking to contend this year, we don't actually need that much of a legal roster. And if we're looking ahead to 2027 and able to get picks, the strength of the 2027 class is quarterbacks. So we can replace some of these. Like, we don't need Tyler Shuck. If someone else wants to take the shot that he's going to have a big breakout, I'm okay with moving him. I'm okay with moving Cam Ward. We want to bring in a mix of just picks, mostly first as much as we can. And I've gone over how to design trades to get you across that threshold to get an extra first. And it really just means like, be open to moving Drake London, be open to moving some of these other players to get you those. So what we're going to do is I'll go through all the rosters in this league and I'll build out other trades that fit that mindset. We've already got a guy like Jordan Addison that I would bring in. I'll be looking at players like, if there's real worry about Malik Neighbors, he should be on a team that's not contending. I'll look at someone like Malik Neighbors, I'll look at someone like Zach Charbonnet, who's not playing this year, but then could just sign a contract in the offseason. So we're going to get a list of players like that, trade options, as well as fit that goal of move a lot of this quarterback value that's on your roster onto teams that need quarterbacks to get picks from them, and then get you in a spot to be contending next year, like strongly contending. So we'll go from 2026, we're retooling, and then 27, we're contending. 28, we're contending. And you have enough picks and you'll be able to make enough moves to just continuously be moving some players for picks, moving those picks for veteran players to come in and contend for you, just kind of on a rolling contention. But I wouldn't do a bunch of work to try to get us to the edge case of contending and maybe hitting the playoffs this year. So expect that right up with way more trade ideas in the next 24 hours. Thank you very much. Let's get the trade thing pulled up. I'll make sure I wrote down any notes of anything that I said. And let's catch up on the chat and catch up on where the queue is. We've got 13 trades in the queue. And the team reviews, I think, that was the only one that we had. So for someone like Fledja, do you pay for a team review? I think they're a premium product. So yeah, that is something that is charged. And actually, in that time, 2 more came through. 2 more did come through. So we will get to those. We got Dylpickles 69. We got Khushp, who had submitted a trade question. I don't know what I'm on with the question of thoughts. I'm taking Ken Walker over Saquon or Hampton. I like Hampton the most of those. And I'd probably Ken Walker and Saquon kind of tied at second. Spencer, I see one moment, guys. Hey, kiddo, come here. Come here. You going to bed? Yeah. I love you, kiddo. Sweet dreams. All righty. She came over and then looked and saw that we were talking and and went away, and she should always have access to come in and say hello. So we do have these follow-up team reviews coming in. I'm going to do my best to turn the air conditioning on. It is getting hot in this room. So we'll try to get that down there. Yeah, we will cover these team reviews. Let's get a couple trades cleared up. Like I know, was it S. Scherzer? Is that a Scott? I'm not positive on the first name, but let's get this one for Prom King, and then we have some from Scherzer coming up, and then we'll pivot over to a couple other team reviews. We got Prom King 17, mental patience in a 10-team, 1 quarterback start 8. How are we feeling on this? The notes on this say, you also have an offer for Marvin Harrison, getting back Jackson Dart. I need wide receiver. But if I do the live trade, then there goes my wide receiver 3. Thoughts? So would you guys move? Is this the George Pickens side? Yeah. George Pickens and the 104 to get Jeremiah Love in a 10-team, 1 quarterback start 8. There's a roster that already has running backs, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, and not a ton past that. At 104, it's not likely that you're getting another running back there. I would take all of the wide receivers ahead of someone like Jadarian Price at the 104. It's a 10-team, 1 quarterback, so we're not really grabbing Mendoza there. I feel like we're paying a lot here is my first assessment. We're hitting like the high end of, if someone is saying like, I'm only moving Jeremiah Love if someone overpays, that's the territory that we're getting into here. If the goal is contending right now, I mean, maybe we end up with, I'm gonna say, I don't think I would. I'd be fine with moving George Pickens and the 104 in other deals. I'd be fine with moving George Pickens with someone like you've got Isaiah Likely in a different type of deal. There's plenty of options that I could do here. I don't know that this is one I would jump towards or I would rank that highly. If I came up with a list of like 10 different trade ideas for my team, I don't know how high I would have this one. Because I'm looking at your team, Prom King. Now it's up on the Twitch and on the YouTube. You got Bo Nix, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, and then wide receivers, you're feeling way stronger. Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, George Pickens, Tyler Warren. It's an okay team. Is this the move to push all in? 10-team start 8, 1 QB. I don't know that I would. I might try to roll up other things first to feel more confident. Like if you're able to move the 204 and Isaiah Likely for another player way further up that we feel a lot better about, that then is a starter for you, then I would feel much better about doing a deal like this. I don't know that I would do this one. And this would be a spot where if I have Jeremiah Love, like, yeah, I might be moving to do something like this because we're just kind of just adding in a bunch of value. Okay, we'll hit Scherzer and then we'll jump to the next team review. Scoob, can I hear the drums, Fernando? That is my team. Would I do the Dart trade? I have it. There's the Hopkins. Would I do the Dart trade? I'll see if I can get back to it. I don't even have that pulled up. Can I still pull that back up? Do you have an offer for Marvin Harrison getting back Jackson Dart? No, I don't see any reason to. You have Bo Nix. Unless you're then moving Bo Nix, who has about the same exact value as Jackson Dart. I don't see a reason to. Okay, here we go. Scherzer, trade on the board. Let me know what you guys think of this one. Are you guys doing this? Scherzer in a 12-team Superflex start 10, PPR half-point tight end premium. This is the league format I play in. This is what our boom bust leagues are. Would we trade Travis Hunter for Nick Singleton? The notes here would be like a 3rd rounder and another pick I would receive for Hunter would I do this, or what would I say Travis Hunter's value is? I typically don't do things like this. We drafted Travis Hunter early last year. Now we just want to cut bait and pivot to Singleton, like a mid-second round pick this year. Clayton Shaw says Travis Hunter isn't even playing offense this year, I don't think. At this point, it's really just what you said. We don't know. You like the and not the phrase, not the playtime that you just said, more of the lack of confidence in what you just said, because the GM said he's playing offense. The coach said he's playing offense. Travis Hunter said he's playing offense. Is he playing offense? I don't know. I don't know. It's the same thing though. I'm personally, I typically just hold on to the thing. If I pivot to Nick Singleton, are my odds of finding success that much higher? I don't know that they are. I don't know that they are. I would probably pair Travis Hunter up with other things and make a deal in that way, usually. And this is just what selling low looks like. A news report came out that said Travis Hunter is not playing offense. That doesn't mean he isn't. We could wait and see where training camp goes, but I typically don't. I'm just going to say, like, it's me personally, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't hate it if you did. That's one where that's like more of my style rather than any sort of insight or history of past situations or patterns that managers misread, like I use to answer other questions. Just for me personally, if I'm moving Travis Hunter, I'm doing something else to come away with a better option. I don't just move them one for one. Like I moved Travis Hunter and I think Jack Besh for the 108 a while ago, where I was adding something to it, and then I came away with a much better upside piece than just Nick Singleton. And I'd say try to do something more like that. Let's see where we are in the trade queue. We have 11 trades in the trade queue, but we have got team reviews coming in. So we've got one. I'm just going through these in order. We got Dylpickles. And then, okay, there's 3 pending. So let's go through some of these. We got Dylpickles, we got Khushp, and we got, is it Dacker? DX Acker? Oh, Daniel Ackerman. I can just see the submitter name. The team name is Dacker. The submitter is Dan. So let's go to Dylpickles. I'll move this over. And here is what we look at. Dylpickles. Let's pull the team up. Let's grab a timestamp. What is this? 50 minutes? So I write down, I mean, right now I'm literally just looking at the timestamp of the recording. There will be the YouTube video that lives on YouTube after this. So you'll have a link to the YouTube with a timestamp to where we talked about your team, and then a full page breakdown of your team and the trades that I would be making. We're good on the timestamp, so we can get things started here. In a 12-team Superflex start 9, full point PPR, half point tight end premium, Dan Ackerman. Oh, he said it's me. Okay, but I also see Dylpickles. We have got the roster of, we're going to go through these position by position. It looks like you're in the middle of your rookie draft. You've got Tate, you've got Price, you've got Ted Hurst, but the rest of the picks haven't been made yet. We could see that. So we'll go through this. We'll go through position by position. We'll talk about the rankings and then kind of the status of your team, when we think you're contending, and any sort of moves that I would make as the manager of this team. Okay, just commit that. At quarterbacks, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold. This is enough to contend. This is enough to go. It's not amazing. I don't know that anybody here is excited about Sam Darnold, but he's going to be a QB2. He's in that pocket passer blob who should put up, I don't know, QB 14 as a ranking. It's about what we expect from someone like Darnold. We could see things flip where Darnold hits the high end of touchdowns and Brock Purdy takes a step back. That's kind of just the pocket passer situation. But I like both of these guys, and I think we have tradable value with Brock Purdy because he just had a good touchdown year. So people think he's the good one. We've talked about this a little bit already, but players like Brock Purdy, Tyler Shuck, Jordan Love, CJ Stroud, I'm just thinking of quarterbacks who really only get their value from passing. There's no rushing upside, and they're not monster touchdown producers like someone like Joe Burrow. He's a pocket passer who's not going to run a ton, but he does have 40 touchdown upside. What we're looking at with Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold is probably 25 touchdowns. And if they hit 30, they'll be the best pocket passer in this group. Obviously not compared to Joe Burrow, like I was just saying, but in this blob of players that I have from quarterback 10 to 16 range. But Purdy's at the top of that, so we have some tradable value, and Sam Darnold could hit similar production and is just much cheaper. Bryce Young is kind of the lowest end of this pocket passer group. We're feeling okay at quarterbacks. We might be able to make some upgrades. There are plenty of teams where this is enough to contend, but I've only looked at quarterbacks so far. Running backs, Gibbs, Kyren Williams, Javonte Williams, the Williams brothers. I like Isaiah Pacheco as a decent stash to fill in for you. I like Tajay Spears to fill in for a couple weeks this year. I think we're doing all right here. This feels like I'm going to write down 3 as a ranking here. If this was Gibbs and Hampton and Javonte Williams, then we might push that up to 4. Gibbs and Genty and Javonte Williams. Or if we had gone deeper, like Gibbs, Kyren, Javonte, and Saquon might get us in that 4 range. I like to give... Oh, you also have Jadarian Price, excuse me. So maybe we're putting like a really, really strong 3 to a weak 4 with Jadarian Price being added in there. I'm going to pencil it in as 3, but we're feeling strong here. Gibbs, Williams, and Jadarian Price. And then a couple fill-in options like Tajay Spears and Pacheco could flex for you a couple times this year. If we're going to have a 14-week regular season in the playoffs, like they'll play a couple times and probably get some value out of them. Wide receivers, we got Carnell Tate, George Pickens, Devonta Smith, Jaden Reed, Terry McLaurin, Brandon Ayuk is another option there. And then some people are excited about Torrey Horton. This is closer to, like, I'm writing down a 2 to a 3, like a weaker 3. We just had a strong 3. This would be a weaker 3. Pickens, I like George Pickens. Plenty fine as the second wide receiver there. I don't know that he'll get as high as he did last year with CeeDee Lamb not recovering from an ankle injury. What's the best way to say? Like, I don't expect that CeeDee Lamb gets another high ankle sprain early in the season, and George Pickens has a long streak of being the number 1 guy. I would expect the targets and the offense for this team to go Lamb, then Pickens, then Ferguson, or Lamb, Pickens, Javonte Williams, then Ferguson at tight end. And Pickens will be more of a wide receiver 2 this year than he was last year when he had to fill in as the main guy and then cover for players coming back from high ankle sprains take a while to come back. We've seen a pattern of they're out for 4 to 6 weeks, which is what CeeDee Lamb missed, and then not fully recovered for a while. You can play, but you're not full strength. I think that's what boosted up things with George Pickens last year. If we're looking at like who are we starting regularly, it's probably Tate, Pickens, Devonta Smith, Terry McLaurin. And if we have to get to 9 starters, that's okay. That's okay. Tight ends, Dalton Kincaid, Gunnar Helm, David Njoku. Nothing amazing here. This is 2 to a 1, like a pretty weak 2. Maybe Njoku is the touchdown guy for Mike McDaniel as offensive coordinator of the Chargers. Maybe. He's missed plenty of time over the past couple years. Maybe Cade Otton is okay. Kind of just all he's been over the past few years. Sometimes you could start him. But nothing special here. And then picks. You had 2 picks this year in the first round. No future first next year. And I'm not sure I see where it is. kind of just like in the value of your team, where that trade went to. I'm not going to stick around too long on this point. Sometimes when I look at the future draft picks and you don't see any firsts, but then you can look at the players and go like, okay, yeah, you made trades and you brought in players and you're ready to go. I don't know that I see that here. So if we pull up, I mean, at picks with no first next year and then just kind of your own picks in 28 and 29, we'll put that as a 2. A 2 to like it's a week or 2. All right, with your team, Dylpickles 69, middle of the pack for contention. And I think you're a bit higher up than that because I don't know that the lineup power here can pull the players that you've drafted before the draft is done. So what we mean to say is, hey, you have more production coming compared to what's showing in this chart. As far as your future value, kind of in the middle as well. Like you may be able to survive not having that pick next year. I'm going to put this as, this is a contending team. You're not the number one contender. Like when we're looking at projected scoring for the league, it excuse me, I'm burping because I'm drinking fizzy water. You're not the number one contender, but it also wouldn't surprise me if you snuck in and got a bye week in the playoffs. When we show this chart showing, hey, here's the projected scoring for the league, like, hey, here's the bottom, here's the top. What makes fantasy fun is this is not what's going to happen. We don't know the future. We take our best guesses, but we don't know the future. So I think this is a team that I would play out. We don't need to retool. We've got players coming in, Tate and Jadarian Price adding in. We have good depth across our team. We do have one stud player, Jahmyr Gibbs, but then otherwise we would like more. But I think you can play this out. Purdy and Darnold are enough to go for you. Dylan Stevens says you could move Price and Pickens right now for Jettas, but you don't know if you want to do that. That's about the range. I wouldn't call that I don't think that's a huge overpay. I might explore other options of things that you could do. We'll pencil that one in. I'll make a note of that one. It was Pickens and Price for Jefferson. We'll see. Maybe you end up grabbing something else on that deal, or maybe you take another player and throw that on that deal. Let's try to find who's got Jefferson and take a look at their roster while we're here. They've got Ken Walker, Chase Brown, Bashal Tutin. They don't even have receivers. So you'd be talking about moving Pickens and Price to get Justin Jefferson. There might be something here. I'll take a look at that. To see kind of how that trade looks and what other options are available before committing to saying anything on here. Where were you, Dylpickle? So sometimes with a team like this, I might suggest I'll use a phrase like, hey, your team can't really afford to have a stud player like Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't know that I feel that way about this team. We're a little bit weak at quarterback. And if things don't go our way, do we have to replace Sam Darnold next year? It's definitely possible. I don't know that we're replacing Brock Purdy or that the 49ers are moving on from him, but it's possible. So with this team, like, what are we looking to do? If we can move Hurst and some of these thirds to get maybe one or two more veteran options, we'll take a look on the live stream at some of these weaker teams, like this team bringing in Jeremiah Love, classic dad jokes. Is there a player to go get here? Like it may be Christian Watson. Maybe a Ramondre Stevenson would be cheap to bring in if you're giving this guy picks in this year's draft class. Like personally, would I be fine if you moved the 308, 309, and 409 and just brought in Ramondre to fill out, to add in more production? I don't know that I would hate it. with Mike Cook, I'm just going through like some of the bottom teams, projected teams to see, hey, do they have any other veterans that we could just get for picks that you still have? Nothing here is really jumping out. Like we don't need Sean Tucker. I don't need us to take a shot on Keaton Mitchell or Tracy or Blake Corum. This is pretty bare bones. It's really just like Drake May, Amon-Ra. This is the type of team, like I was saying with yours. Yeah, are there teams that can't afford their studs? Like it's this. We probably would want a down tier from Drake May, Hampton, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Trey McBride with this, but your team doesn't need to do that. This one, like, we don't have other receivers. We don't have other running backs. You can't just have just one stud. For yours, I don't feel that way. That's kind of another way of saying what I was trying to say about Gibbs. Like, we have enough of a well-rounded team that we're contending. We've already got a guy like Terry McLaurin. So the only thing that I'm really looking for is, like, can we get the running back version of that? Or could we go get a slightly better tight end for this team? So I might put down as targets, like, can we find Travis Kelce? Can we find, even if your team has Cowboys, can we find Jake Ferguson? Like a cheap tight end option who we think is just going to give us decent production, and then we don't have to think about it that much. You can move, that's just the same message about Price and Pickens. So I'll take a look at some options like that. That's kind of the main goals that I'll be looking at when building trades. And then we'll come up with 5 to 10 trade ideas for this team. The other thing that is jumping out to me is, like, if you could just pivot from, all the players that I'm suggesting are Cowboys, and that's not, I'm not a big Cowboys fan or believer. There's just, when I'm looking for good production from at age, that happens to be on the Cowboys. Jake Ferguson is a good tight end producer. Dak Prescott is a good quarterback producer. So if we could do something like Sam Darnold and another player to get you to Dak, who's probably just going to produce much more this year, but we lose some age, that's something I might explore. Because when I'm looking at your team, there's just not that much fading away. Terry McLaurin, possibly in his last year, but you've got Carnell Tate and Price coming in. So we could pivot and find ways to find other running back or other wide receivers. So I think we're all right. I'll try to find some veteran options or try to better. I don't know that your team's going to stay as the youngest team, or that they are the youngest team, or that they're going to stay very young. I might come up with some trades like I was saying, Dak Prescott as a pocket passer quarterback who's been top 6 when he's healthy. Can we get you something like that to increase your odds this year? Because you're probably contending, and we just want to get you a stronger competing roster for this year without losing too much youth here, because we don't have that first next year. And then I probably am not moving a 28 first to go further all in, or a 29 first to go further all in here. So we'll close it there, and we'll come up with more drawn out, like, actual trade these 2 players for these 3 players, trade ideas with write-ups of what we would do for those. Matt Stafford is another example of old, like, you're definitely getting older, but really good production. We might try to find a couple equivalent players at different positions like that. Thank you so much for submitting that one, Dylan. Thank you a ton. Let's take a look at, I know we have some in, so a couple other team reviews in the queue. We are at 1 hour, 5 minutes. Let's take a look at the trade queue and get a couple of those going. Let me find it again. I can do this. And let's catch up on the chat like dirty dilders. Subscribe to Tier 1 for 11 months, an 11-month streak on Twitch. Almost a whole year. Exactly. And Colin, I see you. We'll go over where to submit these. I see you, Colin. Let's check in on the chat. Spencer, did I review the CMC and Adams trades? Yes. Yeah. Spencer, on the YouTube feed, you can, I'm going to point up, like, if you're on the TikTok, you can't see it, but on YouTube, we just have a scrolling queue of the trades. So you can go and find your trade on the YouTube replay. And then, are we missing any? Like the G, 10 man, I got Genty. Okay. What do I think? I'm not unsure. User 388, would I trade Kyron for Judkins in Dynasty? Well, you can submit a trade. Kyron will go over where to submit these. Like Koloon said, where do we submit? Let's take a look at that. Are we going to be able to do this? I don't know why our demo. Yeah, we could do this. Our demo version of the site isn't quite working, but work with me here. Kaloon, if you're looking to submit your team for review, if you're looking to submit your trade for review, here's where you can do it. We've got our site, boombustfantasy.com. This is what it looks like on desktop. It is very easy to make your account and sync your sleeper leagues to the site. Here's what you do. You click Get Started. You can make your account with your Gmail. I'm using Google Chrome. I'm logged into Gmail. I've reset the database so that I don't have an account. You just click Continue with Google, and it just made my account. And then you just type in your sleeper username. This does not have access to make any changes to your sleeper. There's no risk. It is just reading the leagues that you are in. You type in your sleeper username, you hit continue, and then it has gone and pulled all of the leagues that I'm in. You just select which league you want the site to be showing. And here's where this has been having some issues. We also have Discord connections. It's really only issues on the demo version here, where I'm deleting accounts and adding things in. So I'll probably need to tweak something. Once you've done that, it will show your team, and I'm just going to pivot to a different view, a different browser where it is working. It pulls your team. What you do to submit your trade question in the queue is you go to trade advice. If you want to use a different league, you can click there and select any league, and then just type in the players in the trade. Josh Allen for Jaden Daniels. It works like any trade calculator, and then you hit request expert review and click submit for review, and that adds it into the queue. That's how you do it. Same thing for team reviews. If we've gone through a couple team reviews tonight, if you want us to pull up your team and just give you a game plan for that team to get you contending as often as possible, you can hit team advice. You don't have to submit or form, like there's no form here. You just make sure that you have the league that you want selected, and then hit request team review, and that will add it into the queue. Both of these do use a credit system, a trade question credit, a team review credit. All new accounts and all existing accounts do have trade question credits. Those were all granted a while ago, and they all get granted when you make a new account. What's up, Dewdrop? I see you on the Twitch feed. So let's go from there to a couple of the trades, because it's been a minute since we hit a trade. As far as I see, we have 11 trades in the queue. We've had some people like Chaotic Zombie. I made an account adding mine about a week ago for a trade question. Then we probably covered it, Chaotic Zombie. We have our live shows on Monday and Wednesday, and we clear the queues. We almost never leave. We sometimes leave a queue on Monday nights because we know that we'll be right back on Wednesday, but we generally clear these out. We've got a trade from Jay Honey, World Fantasy Federation. 12-team Superflex start 10. I will check on you, Chaotic Zombie. Give me just a moment. I just saw what you said. 2027 first round pick for a 28 first and a 27 third from Jay Honey and World Fantasy Federation. That's about the price in any given year to get a 27 first. It's projected 27 early. I don't know that it is. I don't really like to project where firsts are going to end up. But even if it's just a random first, to go from 128 first to the year ahead, you usually got to pay about a third round pick. And there's plenty of times where I think that's fine. So I'm going to say, like, yeah, I'll take the 27 first. Let's take a look. Here we go. We had a question from Chaotic Zombie who said, submitted a team review and sadly wasn't able to tune in when you sent it. So it will exist for you on the My Advice tab, Chaotic Zombie. The My Advice tab, and then you go to team reviews. This shows all of the team reviews that I've been a reviewer on. Yours will just show yours, the ones that you're associated with. Maybe you submitted some. It would surprise me a lot if you somehow became a reviewer on a team review, because I think it just defaults all to me. And then what you do is you just click on it. Like if we go to Scadabo's Law, there on the live show, we've had an issue with it not pulling. And let me clear this off the screen. On the live show, it hasn't been pulling up the rosters, but it should be pulling up the rosters and showing the trades here. After the show, I'll immediately take a look at why this isn't showing the rosters, but there's a video tab. So you'll have a video link that shows when we covered it on YouTube, and then there will be a timestamp on that YouTube. I see your follow-up, Zombie. Doesn't hurt for me to say that to other people. I don't know why this is bugging out. I will fix this immediately after the show. So that'll be fixed by the time anybody who submitted a team review before we get to those. Let's go with another trade from Scherzer Jr. Nino Pena doing your first ever fantasy startup right now. We just wrapped one up. Have fun. Have fun. Okay, we looked at this one, Scherzer. It's Singleton for Travis Hunter with the notes saying I would get a 27 second, 27 third, and 29 second. Scherzer, you can just type in picks on the trades. If you guys are using this site, I'm going to make a note to go back and just grant Scherzer trade questions. Because he's had a couple questions here involving Singleton and Travis Hunter. The notes here, I would get a 27 second, a 27 third, a 29 second, and give up Hunter and a 27 fourth. You can just put that in. What's the best way to find that? If I go here, if you guys are asking trade questions, let me clear this off the screen. You can just type 27 second, 29. Does it go to 29 fourth round picks? You can just type in the picks. Just like any trade calculator, it'll grab the picks. KPRR4GS, what if we don't know if our picks are early, mid, late? Can we add an option for just 27 second? There isn't an option to just do that, but KP, if you watch for a bit, you'll hear very often. I think you're the rare case like me, KP. I don't know if a pick is early. I don't know if it's late. I don't know if it's middle. Most of the time when I talk about them on the show, I just say, we don't know where this pick is going to be. They say it's early, but often it's not. That it doesn't work out that way. So I typically talk about them as though they're random picks. Sometimes the notes say that it's a for sure terrible team, and I take that into consideration. But generally, it's on there because people want that. If I didn't give someone the option to say it's an early first round pick, I would get a lot more comments saying like, why don't you let me do this, rather than the inverse that I'm getting from you. So it's one of like, you just can't please everyone. Someone wants it to say a random first, which is what I typically talk about it as it is. But other people would then just be mad, like, why can't you let me type it in that it's an early? I know it is, even though, no, you don't. Let's keep things moving. Let's go through some of these trades and then we'll get to team reviews because I don't want to run out of time. We're at 1 hour and 15 minutes. The longest we've gone is 3 hours. Let's get stuff moving. There's the Singleton trade we just looked at. Here's one from Dylpickles in Dynasty Superflex. And Dylan, is this a trade question about the team we just looked at? Liam, where do you submit? It's right here on the screen. Liam, it is right there on your screen. Here we go. Trade question. Here's Dylan, who has Kyron. They have the 105, which I think is this the... Yeah, 105 became Jadarian Price. Would I move Kyron Williams to 105, Jadarian Price, and Terry McLaurin for Harvey and Tet McMillan? Wasn't looking to trade much. You just got offered this today. I feel like we're paying a lot here. to get Harvey and Tet. I like Tet quite a bit. I feel like I don't think this is that crazy to say. I probably don't even want to include Terry at all. Maybe you add a little bit on there. I see you, Texas. We'll cover you right after this one. I don't know that I mean, this is just too much to pay in a league with these settings. I'd stay with the Kyron, the 105, and Terry. Texas Tejano at 108. Is it too early to take Omari and Hampton? Oh, you traded away Tet. I think you got a good haul. I like Tet McMillan. I think you came away with plenty of value. And I wouldn't do the inverse. I'd say we're paying too much. Okay, Texas Tejano saying, at 108, is it too early to take Omari and Hampton? I think so. If you don't think you're going to get him at, here's what I'll say. At 108 in a redraft league, is it too early to take 108 or Hampton at 108? Generally, because I want to make sure that I would get someone like CeeDee Lamb there or Amon-Ra St. Brown, and whoever I'm getting at the return on the other side is probably not in that Amon-Ra St. Brown tier. So we pass up on someone really great. I typically would be looking to grab like Amon-Ra, Lamb, Jefferson in that range and hope that Hampton comes back or make some sort of trade afterwards. Because the combination of two players that I would get, even if I miss on Hampton, I kind of just, at that situation, trust that the market is good enough at ranking players that I like Hampton, but if I have to take Genty, I have to take Achane, I have to take someone else there, that they're probably going to be in the same range as Hampton. So that's generally the way I think about it. Or I'll just ask if I took, if here what's the way I would say that? A message just came through and I started reading it. I get distracted. If I take Amon-Ra St. Brown there, won't most people let me trade Amon-Ra for Hampton and more? That's the way that I would ask that question. And a lot of the times the answer is like, yeah, someone would let you do that. Maybe they can't find a way to make the trade make sense, but typically that's how I would look at it. Okie dokie. Hot Hands Hanan in Bush League Dynasty. This will be the trade. And then we are going through the team review. Brandon, you got the trade review. How do you request it? It's right here on the trade advice page. You just hit request review. And then once you hit submit, it'll add it into the queue. It'll show the credit count in the top. So all accounts are given credits. It'll show that in the top, and then you just hit submit and it'll add it in. You click the request review and hit submit there. All right, Hot Hands Hanan. DJ Moore or Mark Andrews in a fourth? I think I'm staying with DJ Moore. And this would need to be, this is a 12-team Superflex, start 11, half-point PPR, half-point tight end premium. I think I'm just staying with DJ Moore for the upside here. I like Mark Andrews fine, but if I'm moving more, like I would want a 28 or 29 second. AR15 is saying DJ Moore for me. I think it's DJ Moore for me. And then when we're in these situations, I don't want a fourth round pick to make up any value difference. Even though we're like near the bottom of, or we're like mid to late kind of player values, this just feels like trade calculator games. You're just adding a fourth until the calculator lights up, or you're adding a third until the calculator lights up. And generally, I'm just staying with the better player here. So I'd stay with DJ Moore. This is a team that has Stowers. They have Isaiah Likely, Dulcich. I'd probably just like move Likely. If we're looking to move DJ Moore with this team, Hanan, I'd probably find a package of DJ Moore and Likely and send that out rather than trying to get a fourth round pick coming back. I'm gonna make sure I clear that one out. Okay, we said we would do that one, then we'd hit some team reviews. Close those ones out. The queue on trades is at Oh boy. Is that at 11? 11 in the queue. We got some from Zach, Cushion there, Short Dog, Eslat, Scherzer has another one, Caleb. We've got a bunch while we've been live. Let's get, we need to go here. We did Dylpickle. We got Khushp. We'll hit start on it. Open up this team review. Let's open up this pit. We got Wonka's golden ticket with one just coming through from Brandon. Thank you, boys. Thank you, girls. Okay, the team review queue is growing. So we gotta go. We gotta, no dilly-dallying in between. Here's Indian Dynasty football. I like that. I like that quite a bit. Let's get it on the screen. Let me get my notes prepped. I will write this one down. Khushp, QB, RB. I probably need to come up with a better way to have my notes as I go through these. We'll put this at an hour 22:30. Or I just need someone to be writing down notes for me as I talk through these. All right, Khushp P in IDF, Indian Dynasty Football. It's a 10-team Superflex start 9. So in any given week, we're starting 90 players. We say that because that means the value that in a 12-team start 10, you're starting 120 players. That's a 30-player difference. And all of that value from the 120 to 90 gets pushed up higher. So on your team, someone like Jaden Daniels would have a bit more value in a format like this. It just gets pushed up to the top players, or more specifically, Puka Nacua would have more value here. What we're going to do is we'll go through these position by position. We'll talk about a ranking for each position. I think people have been watching for a bit here. I know Khushp has been, so we won't overly talk through it. Let's get into it. Jaden Daniels, Justin Herbert, Shedeur Sanders. It's a very strong 1-2 punch. And then maybe Shedeur wins the starting job and has a little bit more, a little bit of value added on, or becomes a bye week fill-in. With teams that have 2 quarterbacks, that's typically what I do. As long as you have a team that is strong enough to get you through the 2 weeks with your super flex option, as long as I double check this is not a 2 quarterback league. You can start players in the flex. I don't know I necessarily need a 3rd quarterback. If Shedeur Sanders is that for you, great. Otherwise, we can look at other things. This is really strong QB room. We're going to call it 3. If Justin Herbert was like Caleb Williams, we might call that a 4. Or if it was Justin Herbert and then maybe we had like Stafford as a 3rd quarterback and we felt really good about a 3rd option, or Dak as a 3rd quarterback, that would get us up to like a 4. We got the follow coming through on TikTok. A Hopkins, thank you very much. Running backs, Breece Hall, Javonte Williams, Blake Corum, Jalen Warren. This is probably closer to a 2. We have 2 starters that we feel okay about. Blake Corum as a 3rd option could fill in, but that's getting like to a pretty weak fill in a 10-team start 9. Knowing that you might have to start this guy multiple times becomes an issue. Jalen Wright as the 4th running back. This might be a situation where if we're contending or we're feeling close to contending, or did I say Jalen Wright? I meant Jalen Warren, because I also read right here. I meant to talk about Jalen Warren on the Steelers, where I might say like, hey, go get, why am I blanking on who the other option, go get Rico Dowdle from Pittsburgh and just know that you have the backfield. So we'll take a look at, maybe that's what we do. If we're looking like we're contending, maybe we go get Rico Dowdle and just have the guy. That's something I did last year with Javonte Williams. I wasn't sure if it was going to be Williams for Detroit or Jaden Blue. So I just went and got both because it was cheap enough. And then when one wins and you now have that starting player, you get so much of a value gain that it doesn't matter that the other guy went to 0. So there are going to be teams where we say, hey, if you have Jalen Warren, just go get Rico Dowdle. But if your team's not contending, then we won't care that much. And what did we say? It was 3 at quarterback, 2 at running back, wide receivers, Puka, Lemon, Waddle, and then the rest. Maybe Diggs signs to start somewhere and starts for us. That wouldn't surprise me. Guys like Malik Washington for Miami. I think we talked about a situation similar to this with, I think it was Chris Bell for Miami. Having a team with no wide receivers doesn't mean that one of them becomes good and usable. I'm a Bears fan. We've had multiple years with no good receivers or no offense, which could be a situation with Miami. So Malik Washington could be him. He could be okay. He could be your Darnell Mooney. He could be your Johnny Knox. These players that have a little bit of value for a little bit of time, but I'm not holding out hope for that. If you don't know the older player references, like Johnny Knox for the Bears, Darnell Mooney, they had one other guy who had one good year and then got traded to the Saints. That could be what we end up with Malik Washington. You don't need to go research these players. What you should hear and think is, oh, they're these players that I've never heard of. That's very likely what Malik Washington becomes in 2-3 years. We possibly just remember him as, hey, remember when we thought he might be the one guy on a terrible team? Oh, yeah, that barely ever happens. That's kind of what I think the future for Washington could easily be. Khalil Shakir could start for you. Jalen Coker might break out in year 3. He's not injured anymore. He was looking pretty good for the Panthers at the end of the year. I wouldn't rely on him or go into the year saying like, man, Coker's good. I want him to be like a pleasant upside for my team. But with the ranking here, like I like Mekhi Lemon. I like Jalen Waddle. If we're starting 9 guys, we've got one of the best ones, Puka, and 1, 2, 3. When we count out our 9 for the starting roster, we might be okay. I'm going to put this as like a week or 3. I kind of almost wanted to write down 2 because it doesn't go much deeper. In a league like this, 10-team start 9, we might want like Puka and Nico as a second wide receiver. Puka and like Drake London would obviously be much better. Maybe Mekhi Lemon is that breakout for the Eagles, but we kind of need him to be. At tight ends, Tucker Kraft, Dalton Kincaid. I like this. This is like a... Hopefully we see Tucker Kraft bounce back. I'm going to pencil in 2. Is there a tight end premium here? No. And then future picks, you've got your own 2027. You have someone else's 2028. I think that's okay. We don't know where that's going to end up being. And I'm going to struggle with a lot of the names of the other teams here in the league. So please bear with me. Like Abisha 21, you have there first. They're looking like a contender this year, but I don't think that matters for 2028 that we do or don't know that. So how are we feeling about your team? Middle to bottom of the pack. If this is a 6-team playoff, this is probably something where I'd say, yeah, we can go for it. If 6 teams get in, and we're looking at Kabir, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you're the 7th on the early season projections, that's not horrible. If you can, this is a situation where I'm probably going to play that out because you just need to get into the playoffs and then it becomes much more of a crapshoot. So when we're looking at the chart here and it says, hey, this team's the best team, that doesn't mean they're going to finish that way. That's the fun of fantasy. That's what we like. We like to come up with these ideas and build these charts, and then we get to the season and go, oh no, we were all wrong. So I think I'm okay with playing this out. I don't know that I want to take a lot more future value and move it. Looks like you guys don't do 4th round picks in this league, but can we find ways to make trades? What I'm going to look for here, Kush, I saw you had an option of moving on from Puka in a deal. What I'm going to look for is like, if we down tier from Puka, I'm really only doing it to bring in a ton. I see a lot of messages from KP. Is the KP you Khushp? Am I reading that right? You said all good and not good. This league cares more about name value than actual ADP. Okay, just making sure that it's not someone chiming in on someone else's team and then I'm trusting them. So with the trade that you had sent in earlier, and we're saying the league cares more about name value, what I'm going to look at is like, hey, can we get someone to pay big name value on Puka? And I might look at some down tiers from Puka to build out other things. We're not really looking to sell just for the sake of selling. We're looking to sell, like, can we add more production in this year? You've got a first round pick next year. You've got a first round pick the year after that. We're going to be adding things in. I like a player like Jalen. Jalen Waddle's the archetype of player that I kind of want to find for you. If we're moving on from Puka, we want to get like Jalen would have been that option. We're looking to bring someone in maybe a little bit older. Maybe it's like a Nico Collins that we down tier in and we add in a lot more production elsewhere. We don't need to add any at quarterback. We might also explore doing something similar at quarterback. We have two young guys. We could just pivot down to like Dak Prescott and get really good production at a second quarterback and then just add in a ton more value elsewhere without losing a lot of production. We'll cut some of the youth. So we cut like 5 years of our quarterback timeline, but then we get multiple years of production at other things, at other spots. You just got an offer for 328 first for Terry and Terry for Puka. Unless we knew that we could then take those firsts and convert them back into players, I don't know that I want to do that with this team, Kush. Am I saying that right as well? I should double check. Hopefully I'm saying that right, that it somewhat rhymes with Bush with a more of an H sound at the front. I don't want to be mispronouncing things. I don't know that we need to be ditching right now to go to picks. You have enough players to go. If you felt like you could then take those picks and turn them into more, maybe, but I don't think we would be getting enough for Puka here. Okay, 100% of the pronunciation. We would want to hit like a 328 first and Terry. If we were looking for a deal, it would be like 328 first, a 27 first, and like a 29 second as the minimum to move on. And even then, we wouldn't really want to. We're going to look at some Puka moves. If you have that guy, I mean, I can just find the Terry McLaurin owner. So I'm just going to write down like Puka for the Terry team because he's sending you offers. I mean, I like what that guy's doing. Traded for a bunch of future firsts. And then now that he's coming out of a rebuild, take those firsts and send them for players. I've suggested stuff like that on other rebuilding teams or retooling teams. Like, hey, you can trade for a 29 first because it's just going to go up in value. And then you trade it for players next off season. Or 28 firsts. And that's what this guy is trying to do right now with you. So we're going to explore stuff like that. The main goals that we have here is like, hey, we probably down tier from one of these quarterbacks. It could be like Baker Mayfield. It could be Matt Stafford. It could be someone older that is still producing a lot. Like Dak Prescott was QB6 last year. We could go from Jaden Daniels to Dak Prescott and add in another really good wide receiver to get us putting out more points. We have a lot of value with this team, would be my guess. We're somewhere near the bottom on future value. But I still stand by what I was about to say. We have enough value to convert this into a roster that contends this year and is trying to get into the playoffs and make a push. Like, we don't need to sell. We can cut a little bit of our age. So that's what I'll be looking at. I'll also be looking at taking things like Jeremy Bernard, Malik Washington, and can we move them to Snow Burrow? Maybe maybe this guy is someone that we down tier at quarterback and grab Brock Purdy and move some sort of deal involving Herbert for Purdy and then a wide receiver for Olave to make your lineup better. That's the types of things that we're going to be looking at. Taking some of our youth, converting it to more veterans that should give us more production and increase our odds of contending this year without going too far that we can't contend next year and so on. So we'll scan some of these. Like we looked here saying, hey, maybe it's Brock Purdy that we grab a down tier at quarterback to look at things. We'll look at how the trades build out. If we look at this player named Send Trades, Maybe we're down tiering from Puka to Drake London and grabbing Derrick Henry in the mix, something like that. I'm spitballing here. I'm going to go through these off stream and just build out more trade ideas with more context to them. But that's the general starting point that I would be going through, is like, start from the bottom. Can I grab veterans off of these teams? We don't have a ton of extra future picks to move other than like maybe a second next year or some of the thirds in 2028. Otherwise, I'd stay like, let's hold these picks because we're borderline contending. We're contending, but we're not the strongest. You say you screwed yourself with trades, traded yourself into oblivion? No. You're not traded into oblivion. You're not traded into oblivion. Like, you have a roster that's contending right now. You're not losing stuff in this offseason, and you have your first round picks next year to bring more stuff in. I wouldn't say you're traded into oblivion at all. I haven't gone through your trades, and I'm probably not looking to do like a trade full history grade and beat you up at all. That doesn't seem like it's helpful. We'll just talk about the types of trades and the concepts that we'll use to go forward, because I think you're still in the hunt for the playoffs this year, which means you're in the hunt for the championship. So thank you very much for submitting that one. You'll get the follow-up with just extra trades and more context about them, but it's generally going to be following that same concept. Do a slight down tier a little bit to add more production, but really looking on, we don't want to over push for this year. You're in there. Like, every year, if 6 teams make the playoffs, there's going to be some odd ones in there each year. And once you're in the playoffs, it's just, can you win 3 games in a row? And the projections that happen for playoff matchups, they're not 70-30 when you're looking on your app and it's trying to predict like, hey, who's going to win this? They end up being much closer to 50-50. So if you can get into the playoffs, like, you have a very real shot of hitting the money. All righty, we got Dan Ackerman on the next one. Team name, future considerations. Let's open this up. Let's open up this pit. Let me find it here, move it over. Look at what's on the screen so that nothing's going crazy. No. Khushp is saying great content. Thank you, Khushp. Thank you, Khushp. Let's cover a couple of these messages from the chat before we jump to Dan. None of them are going to be that deep on there. Zach, how many people are in the trade advice queue? It's right at the top of your screen, Zach. You're on YouTube. It's right here. Are you Z Moss? Sorry, Z Moss. We're going to do our best. We're probably going to go at least another hour, probably an hour and a half. Zach, there's no problems with asking that. There's a even if it's on the screen, I understand people don't see it. People don't see it. And that is totally fine. I do my best to make it like a healthy balance of not too much on the screen. So if you're on Twitch and YouTube, we do have the queue scrolling on there. Zach, you're used to being on TikTok. We get people on TikTok who say, where do you submit these? It's right there. It's right there. So it's just, I do it too. I do it too when I'm watching other people stream. Something will be on the screen and I just don't see it. So there's nothing wrong with asking. Dylan said, with my team, would you go get Jettas for Pickens and Price? I don't think I would. Chaotic Zombie, that's not you. That's a different Zach, I guess, for Zach R. I think we have a couple Zachs. Yeah, we had a Zach M asking a question and we pointed theirs out. And then Zombie was on there too. The one on YouTube. Yep. All right, let's, I think we're good on the chats. Let's go with this one. Team review came in, future consideration for Dan Ackerman. I need to build my notes. Dan Ackerman. Isn't Dan Ackerman, is that the guy from the band? That's a terrible question. It's also a very popular and handsome name. Oh, Zach. Zach is. I prefer Jack. I prefer Jack to Zach. The 12-team Superflex Start 10 PPR half-point tight end premium. That's the league type I prefer. No, I'm thinking of Dan Auerbach. Is that how you say it? The Keys, something Keys, white, black somethings. The band with the two guys. You guys know what I mean. No, you don't. No, you don't. All right, 145.20, 141.20 on the timestamp. Let's write these down. All righty, Dan, how are we feeling on the team? Let's go through these position by position. We'll break it down. We'll give you an outlook for the next couple of years. And then we'll start with some trade ideas here, and then there will be follow-up trade ideas after the stream. After the stream, I go through these off stream and I come up with some deals. We try to find wheeling and dealing options. Here we go. We got Drake May, Tyler Shuck, Sam Darnold at QB. Great one. And then the 2-3, we're feeling all right. We probably have a pretty good starting setup here with tradable options. This is going to be 3 for me. Drake May doing most of the heavy lifting. We could we could get better than Shuck. We could get better than Sam Darnold, but these are pretty good QB2s. Anthony Richardson, maybe we're holding out hope there, but not a ton. Running backs, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Jalen Warren. Okay, not a ton here. Braylon Allen for the Jets, Devin Neal. Looks like a Wilson from the Packers. They say the Packers GM says they still want to get Wilson in there and figure things out. The Seahawks talk about running backs as though they are replaceable. I think some of that was the head coach or the offensive coordinator last year, who is no longer there. Clint Kubiak was the offensive coordinator for Seattle, moving on to be the head coach for the Raiders. He had more of a split. He's already talked about how he wants to bring more of a split to the Raiders. I think this is going to be a Jadarian Price backfield, so not a ton of value here. And then Brooks, you've probably got whoever is starting for the Packers. This is still feeling pretty thin. Pretty thin. It wouldn't surprise me if we were just looking at Josh Jacobs and Javonte Williams as a 1-2 punch here. I'm going to call this like a pretty weak 2 on a rating. Wide receivers, Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, Matthew Golden, Wandale, and then some upside guys. Antonio Williams, I know there's some hype around him. Elijah Surratt that people believe in. I don't often believe in them. With a team like this, I guess I'll hold and see what type of value I get. But I'm generally looking to move on some sort of training camp hype if I can. Because we've got the follow-up player example. Like, is Elijah Surratt and Antonio Williams just the next Kyle Williams for the Patriots? I remember being in rookie drafts last year, people were really excited to trade up. Late second round, I got to get Kyle Williams. Not really feeling anything about him right now. I feel like that's the future for at least one of these guys, Jeremy Bernard, Elijah Surratt, Antonio Williams. It's possible Williams is the second guy for the commies. We have to stay open. Like, it could be. So might be someone that I say like, hey, wait for the first month of the season. But it's not looking great at wide receiver. Wilson, Brown, top 2. Wandale as a fine 3rd. And then we kind of hope Matthew Golden breaks out in the second year. And then we hope that we get one of these other guys to break out. We could end up looking okay at wide receiver next year, but this is getting to like the 2 range. Tight ends, Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, Terrence Ferguson. I only see the T. Okay, we're looking good here. And then a lot of other options behind this, like Dawson Knox on a contending team. Like, he could start a couple weeks for you. Trigg for Dallas. Does he maybe become something? It's a fine dart throw, but not a ton behind these 2 studs. McBride, we're feeling great. Kincaid, feeling okay. As a second one. Maybe we end up moving Kincaid. This has got to be like, there's still a ton of strength here. 3 to 4 at tight end. could be a starter in the league, and he's your second guy behind one of the best starters. We're feeling great. Your picks in the future, we just have our own. We're looking at 2. How are we feeling about this team compared to the rest of the league? You're in it. You're in it based on Drake May, McBride, the upside of Josh Jacobs. How are we feeling about you for the future? Middle of the road? Middle of the road? Where are we losing players? Possibly Shuck, possibly Darnold as losses. Ackerman saying potential trade, AJ and picks for London. How many picks? If it's like a future second, yeah, that's fine. AJ Brown in a second for Drake London, get you younger. Yeah. I think that helps out quite a bit. For counting out your 10 starters, how are we feeling? I don't always do this, but it's an exercise I do to see like how many of these things do we just hate? How many of these players that we might be starting do we just hate? You got half point tight end premium, so we're probably starting Kincaid and McBride. We'll call that 1-2. We're starting Drake May, Tyler Shuck, or Drake May in the other quarter, and Darnold. That's 3-4. And then Jacobs and Williams gets you to 6 easily. Possibly Jalen Warren sometimes, but we'll see. Wilson, AJ Brown, Wandale at 9, and then maybe it's like Jalen Warren or Matthew Golden. So we're feeling like that 9-10, depending on injuries and bye weeks, can be a little bit rough. It can be a little bit rough. Can this team afford, this is kind of the concept that we were talking about before. Can we afford Drake May? If we're looking at like some weeks, it's going to be Jalen Warren and one of these guys, Bernard, Surratt, Antonio Williams. If we find a way to down tier from Drake May, can we get a much better starter? Or if we find a way to move like Wandale in a second, can we get a better starter? I think we're in the mix where right here, like we're in it. We're in it. We're contending. We can move a little bit to try to add some production. So let's take a look at like, I think this is a team that with the way that you have it, we haven't moved before we start looking at trades. Let's give a multi-year outlook. I think we can get to a spot where we're contending over the next 3 years. It may be contending, retooling, and then contending. And some of what we'll look at is if we sell at the peak of Drake May, we're not going to sell for stupid things. We'll do a bit of a down tier and bring in another stud piece. Like we'll go from one of the best quarterbacks to a good quarterback and a really good wide receiver that isn't fading on value. Can we increase our production and increase our odds of contending and also get ahead of issues that we might have with players aging out like Jalen Warren, AJ Brown? We're just looking at like two that we're really worried about over the next couple of years. And then we'll have some dud players here that we backfill with picks. So I don't know that we're that concerned about our contention over the next couple of years. It's more just like, can we boost a little bit of production and can we get ahead of needing to retool by bringing in another player or pivoting from AJ Brown to someone like Drake London, like you were talking about. So let's take a look. We'll go through a couple of these, see if any of these guys have like here. Are you Shadur? She's 18. Not necessarily my style of joke. Could we get Derrick Henry here? That would be a target for me. This player has not been collecting first round picks, or maybe they were, and now they have Jeremiah Levin, Mekhi Lemon, Concepcion. Like maybe they just came out of a lot of first rounders that they were grabbing. But could we get Derrick Henry from this guy for a second, for something like that, where we're trying to look at something like that? Can we grab Derrick Henry off of this bottom tier team? If we go to catching strays, do we grab Rico Dowdle? Didn't you have Jalen Warren? Can we get Rico Dowdle and just have the guy? Send him a third for Dowdle? I mentioned Rico Dowdle because when we see a team change head coach, what's the best way to describe Jaylen Warren? He was an undrafted, wasn't he an undrafted like 7th round pick player? These players like Jaylen Warren, Rico Dowdle, Kenneth Gainwell, like they just change. A new head coach comes in and says, I've worked with Rico Dowdle before. I haven't worked with Jaylen Warren. Dowdle's my guy, and he becomes the lead. That could happen with the Steelers. So just go grab them and have both with your team. Like we might look at that. Other players jumping out here. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. We might check on the low price of Rashee Rice if this is a Rashee Rice seller. But maybe that's adding too much risk to this team. We'll take a look at some of the options and add those in on trades. I like Zach Charbonnet for rebuilding teams. I don't know that it fits for you. It does fit for someone like the Schmendricks, who's got multiple firsts and seconds next year, to just bring in Charbonnet and have that go up in value throughout the season. For you, I think did you have, who was your tight end? Trey McBride? We might look at a Trey McBride down tier as well. Trey McBride down tier to Tyler Warren to get you ahead of some of this rebuilding, or to boost Wan'Dale Robinson to a higher level wide receiver. That's the type of things that I'll be looking for. Because if we could pull some of this value from quarterback into our running backs and wide receivers, or pull some of this value from tight end into our running backs and wide receivers, I think that's going to get you through any issues that we have with losing Warren, losing AJ Brown, and get you just on a longer term contention plan. So we'll come up with some trades for those. We'll write them up. You'll get the write up tomorrow, probably tomorrow. We'll do some of them tonight, some of them tomorrow. We turn them around within 24 hours. Is there anything else jumping out here? Like, I don't have any worries about Garrett Wilson. If you felt like someone in your league wanted to give you something for Josh Jacobs just to cut risk, we could look at that. Maybe we look at Jacobs in a second for a younger running back, as he's another option that would possibly be fading away in the next couple of years. AJ Brown, Jacobs, and Warren. We'll take a look at that. Like, if we move Drake May, can we move Josh Jacobs and get a better running back and another wide receiver somewhere else, or another running back or something? We'll explore options like that. And then we'll type up more of the thought process behind it. But it's generally those things. We have a ton of value on the outsides, literally the outsides of the screen. Drake May, Trey McBride. Can we move some of that inside where we're a little bit weaker? That's not really an outside in or any sort of strategy. I'm just literally speaking about how things are on the screen. I think we've about covered it. Like, this is a team that's ready to contend again. Thank you very much for submitting that one. Let's move up to the next one. We've got 2 more in the queue. I'm going to hit refresh and see if that's gone up. We've got 13 trades. Actually, let's cover a couple of these trades. We've got people who've been waiting. Let's do four quick trades, then we'll hit another team review. Ackerman, I see your thing about flipping on a first or a second for AJ for London. It wouldn't surprise me if he didn't take a second, but that's about all I would offer. We'll throw some in there as well. I wrote that down, so we'll get to that. All right, Scherzer, Buttercup Bitches is the team. Superflex, 12 team, 8 starters, PPR. So a bit shallower. This is closer to a 12-team redraft league that you might be in, where you're starting 7 guys, sometimes 8. So again, we're shooting value up. Like Troy Franklin, Ollie Gordon, basically no value here in a dynasty league like this. On one side, we got early 27 first projected. Troy Franklin, Ollie Gordon. Are we doing that for Emeka Ibuka? I don't think so. The notes on this trade say, I know I got other holes, but if he would be willing to sell, would this be too much? I haven't sent anything yet. This would be someone sending Ollie Gordon. No, I'd be fine sending Ollie Gordon and Troy Franklin. The Franklin and Gordon here don't really matter that much. And because it's only a start 8 league, Ibuka's going to have a lot of value. We're looking at some of the other players on this roster that just do not have value in a league like this. It's like Keon Coleman, Chimere Dike, These players that were almost never going to crack your starting lineup. When we're jumping between different leagues, a league like this one, where you only have to start 8 guys, like it's got to be really good guys. The level of flex is like Devonta Smith. Zay Flowers hits flex tier in a range like in a league like this, and then players like Jalen Lane on Baltimore just don't ever start. Trey Benson at running back is maybe a one-time flex. Tajay Spears, who's the second running back on this team, is also kind of just a one-time flex. I think you're getting Ibuka pretty cheap here, considering the scoring of the league. And this is just kind of a trade calculator special, Scherzer. Where I would definitely take Ibuka. And if you don't get Ibuka, like you get someone else with Franklin and those things. My sister's in the chat. It's nighttime. Do you go live at night now too? I do, Betsy. Here's a trade for Caleb in a 10-team, 1 quarterback start 8, 80 starters a week. This is even shallower than the one we were just talking about. Are we doing Puka and Tootin for Lamb and Scatabo? I think there is more upside on the Scatabo side. If I have Puka and Tootin, am I doing this? No. I would want a little bit more. A little bit more. Yeah, Zach M is saying Tootin and Puka by a mile. Yeah. And I think this is one, I've got a video on Friday coming out that is like the same concept of this. If someone believes in Scatabo, they're still just paying too much here. I had a trade where someone sent Devonta Smith and they just got Christian Watson back and they were very excited. Like, I believe in Christian Watson. That's great, but you're paying too much. Most people would just give you more. So even if you like Cam Scatabo here, I think we're staying with the Puka side by a lot. Or saying you could easily get 2/3 thrown in on the other side or add in another player swap to even it out. Betsy, where am I reading comments from? You're the only one talking. You are the only one talking on TikTok. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitch. Thank you for dropping in for the support. That is my real life sister. All right, Alex Pacino, Dynasty is fun. 12-team, 1 quarterback, start 10. The notes on this one, this is tight end for tight end. Since I'm in a rebuild, I'm not sure if I need Gadsden, Sadiq, and Sowers since they are all high risk, high reward. I would like the safety of Likely since there isn't much competition there as opposed to Gadsden. I personally would stay with Gadsden. This is just a tight end swap. I had a video come out today saying I want to move on from Isaiah Likely. I think he's been hyped up because he's followed his coach to the Giants to a level that he hasn't ever hit. We don't see that many players break out in year 5. And the breakout for Isaiah Likely was like 1 week he scored 30 points. And then the rest of that season did not actually do very much. So I might just take the upside of Gadsden here or pivot because we're looking at, you're saying you're in a rebuild. You have Sadiq, you have Gadsden, you have Stowers. Move it to a different position or move this player value to a draft pick. I probably wouldn't. Isaiah Likely is going to be one of my biggest sells in Dynasty where I would be suggesting moving on from him. So I wouldn't bring him in this. I just like Gadsden more. I don't know the future, but every single league that I have, if I had this offered in 100 leagues, I would probably take Gadsden in 98 of them. And maybe that's too much. Maybe like 90. All right, Colton, trade. And then we'll hit another team review. Let's set this one live for Colton 2269. Did I read that right? 69? Hilarious. Sorry, Colton. 10-team, 1 quarterback, start 10. PPR, half point, tight end premium. It's a big trade. It's filling up the whole screen on YouTube's. Stuff's overlapping. The overlays are breaking. Let's talk about the trade. Jeremiah Love, Luther Burden, a 27 first, a 28 first, Damon Claiborne, or Gibbs, Garrett Wilson, a third, and DJ Giddens. Haven't we looked at one? I feel like I've looked at a trade like this. I feel like I've said I don't care about Giddens, a third, and Claiborne before. And then I've said, am I doing... Yeah, I've looked at this trade before. Because I've definitely said, well, Gibbs for Jeremiah Love and a first is about right. In a 10-team start 10, that's about right. If you wanted to move on from Jahmyr Gibbs, that's what you could get back. Love and a first. That's not crazy. Garrett Wilson for Burden and a 28 first. That's not obscene. The notes here say, just not entirely sure if my team is contending this year and I feel like I'm getting future value. I don't even remember what I said the last time. I think I said like, hey, this is pretty even. Your team is probably contending as I'm scrolling through it. 10 teams start 10. You have Gibbs, Kyron Williams. No other great running back options. Maybe Pacheco fills in. Maybe Kamara fills in. Maybe Tony Pollard goes. Maybe Jones. No, actually, no, this is probably contending. And I might stay with... I think I've looked at this and came to the conclusion that like I'd give a slight edge to Jahmyr Gibbs. A very slight edge to Gibbs, but I'd be fine if you moved on. I feel like I've been torn on this one when we looked at it last week. This is enough for me to move off of Jahmyr Gibbs is where I'll leave it. Moving the third and DJ Giddens to get up to a 28 first added on there. I think the Garrett Wilson for Luther Burden and a first is, you're getting a lot for Garrett Wilson there. And then you could possibly move a first in Luther Burden and get a better wide receiver. I'm okay with doing this deal. I'm going to call this one even. Like, you don't have to do it, but I would be fine if you did. And I think if you could take these two firsts and then move them for another player, you could probably come out pretty far ahead in the long term. But your team is also contending, Colton. So you don't know that I want to bring in firsts that I'm not going to trade. I feel like I probably said that last time I looked at this deal. Let's go to a team review. We got Macaulay Sculkins in UFL. Let's fire this one up. We're at 2 hours. We'll go for another hour. We'll go another hour. We'll go another hour. I got some LaCroix. It's going to get me burping. Excuse me. Here we go. UFL. Let's put it on your screen. And let's write this out. We got Macaulay. I need to write down some notes that I'm ready. Mac will be starting at 2:04:30. QB. How are we feeling on this team? Let's take a look at it. In a 12-team, one quarterback, 6-point passing touchdown, start 9. Let's go with Macaulay's team. He's got Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud as a 1-2 in a one quarterback league. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'd say it's like the top end of 3. If we're ranking out like the 12 quarterbacks that we want, who might we want more? Josh Allen, Drake May. We're into the top 1/3. Lamar Jackson is probably one of the top options. And then maybe Jaden Daniels ahead. Some people might have Caleb Williams ahead. I think I'm okay with still having Lamar there. So I'm going to call it really, really good 3. Alex is great on YouTube. Am I answering redraft questions? Yeah, in between team reviews, Alex, we are. Running backs. This is where things get iffy. Macaulay. We got Javonte Williams, Chuba Hubbard. Just like we were talking about on the last review, I kind of like if I have Chuba Hubbard to go, and I'm contending to just go get Jonathan Brooks and like have that guy. But this is maybe Aaron Jones and Jordan Mason as a second starter. Like, it's a weak crew. This is like 2-1. Oh, shoot. I just saw the message. Zach, can we see the team on screen, please? Yes. And actually, let's just write this down. 206. We'll come right back to it. So that Macaulay doesn't have. Let's just take it from the top. Let's just jump it from the top. We started this review without the team on screen. Thank you. Thank you, Khushp. Thank you, Zach. Macaulay Skulkins, here is the team. In the scoring, it's a 12-team, 1 quarterback, 6-point passing touchdown, start 9, full PPR, no tight end premium. And we'll go position by position. Got Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud. I like this as a 1-2 punch. You might hear me repeating myself. You might hear me repeating myself because this is where the timestamp will be for Macaulay. If you're looking at Lamar Jackson, this is a top like 1/3 quarterback. We might want Drake May ahead. We might want Josh Allen ahead. We might want Jaden Daniels ahead. People might want Caleb Williams ahead, but I kind of like Lamar in that Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels range. I might have him at 3. I also would put Jalen Hurts kind of in that range. So we're coming up with a rating. I'm going to call this a 3. Like there's enough guys ahead. If you had Josh Allen, we'd call it a 4. If you had Drake May, we'd call it a 4, but we don't. But we have a really good quarterback. I would not be worried about Lamar Jackson coming off of a year where he was injured most of last year. There were a lot of injuries on the team. I'm not going to over penalize him going into this year. We've seen Lamar, unfortunately, we've seen Lamar be injured, but we've also still seen him come off an injury and have a league winning upside. And I think that's still there this year. I think Stroud's a great second option. He's going to start 1 to 2 weeks for you, hopefully. If Lamar does miss time, I would say this isn't a fantastic backup, but he could be. He could be into that top 12 range. So we'll see. But I call that about 3. I think we're good to go with that. Running backs, Javonte Williams, and then a lot of maybes behind that. Chuba Hubbard, Woody Marks, I don't particularly love. I bet he has a bigger role than people think, but not a massive role. I don't feel great about the 1-2 here. I'm writing this down as like a really weak 2 at running back, bordering on a 1. Like Javonte Williams is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and then we're kind of piece it together with Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. And is it Jordan James who would be behind McCaffrey? Nothing else here is really that exciting to me. Maybe Chuba Hubbard beats out Jonathan Brooks and we're feeling okay. Maybe this is the last year of Chuba Hubbard. I'm unsure. It's iffy to me. If the rest of the team makes sense, I'd say like, let's just pay up for Jonathan Brooks and have whoever it is. Is it Hubbard? Is it Brooks? It's a good chance it's one of them, just like you have with Javonte Williams and Jaden Blue last year. We didn't know who it was going into the season. Then it was Williams. Can we find a similar situation with Hubbard and Brooks? And can you go get them? But it's a rougher running back room. Not a lot of spots to pull value for your team here. Wide receivers, a part we haven't covered before. For you, we got Jefferson, St. Brown, Ladd, BTJ, and then Jalen Coker. This is probably a situation where we felt way better last year, last offseason. Jefferson, Amon-Ra were like top guys last year. They're still up there right now, but Ladd was way up there. BTJ was way up there. They had 2 down years. I think we're going to get the bounce back for both of these guys. Some. I don't know that BTJ is going to be wide receiver 5 again, but he could be a top 24. Ladd McConkey should be top 24 with no Keenan Allen there. We'll call this like a pretty good 3. If we had a better third option, that could push us into a 4, where we would have a really strong top group. But we're starting 9 guys and only 1 quarterback, so we got to start Ladd. We got to start BTJ. There's going to be times where we need to start like Coker, especially when we're not pulling extra flex starters from running back. Tight ends, we have Gadsden, Okonkwo, and Njoku. I like having both of them, and then kind of nothing. It's like a 2 to a 1. I like Gadsden, which is why I'm going to write down a 2. And I like Njoku, and I like the tight ends for Mike McDaniels and the Chargers this year. I don't personally feel anything about Chig Okonkwo. Maybe he fills in for a Zach Ertz role with a different offensive coordinator. I'm not sure I see the path for hype on Chig, but I guess I'll believe it. There's plenty of times where I'm playing in fantasy that I'll I'll hear enough of a drumbeat around a player to say, yeah, it could be something. I don't know that I see it, but I don't need to understand it or be there with everyone else to reap the benefits. And that's kind of how I feel about Chig Okonkwo. I'm not going out of my way to get him, but if he's on a team, like, I'll see what happens. I've been wrong before. Been wrong plenty of times. Draft picks. 2 firsts in 2027, 2 firsts in 2028. I don't know that we need that many firsts going forward. We'll put that at 3. We're feeling good at picks. When we're looking at the state of your league, are you in contention? Yeah, when I was looking at your team, I was thinking this team can go. It'll be tight at running back, but especially with these extra picks, like, do we need to wait? Do we need to wait? You've got the first round pick for Hertz Donut, one of the worst teams in the league. Have they come asking for their pick yet? Their pick back yet? You've got the first round pick for NWO Dynasty. Have you tried to sell the pick back to them yet? Because what you have, they have your first and you have theirs. This is one of the weaker teams in the league. They're looking at running backs of, I like Bucky Irving, but Jonah Coleman. Top wide receiver of Porker Washington and Mike Evans. I know I just said Porker. I think it's funnier that way. Can we get a big swing from this guy to even just to swap first round picks back? Swap the first round pick and get, I bet you could get more than Bucky Irving for doing that. That's the type of range we're looking at. Or you sell it to someone else for NWO Dynasty. Same thing with Hertz Donut, who just had the number 1 overall pick. You have their pick going forward. I've done this multiple times this offseason where I had someone else's first round pick and just offered it back to them and got a massive deal coming back. You're hoping for a big value win from these two teams. You don't have to wait. If you just give them their pick and sell them as though it's the number 1, you can sometimes get that back right away. So I'm going to take a look at putting that down there. We can move some of these firsts, but we're only going to do it if people look at the league and say, hey, Hertz Donut and NWO Dynasty, some of the weaker teams. Can we, and you have access to their picks, can we move them as though they're amazing? I would look at doing that. So that's one spot that we'll look. But we're also just going to look at, I mean, that's probably one of the things that we're going to try to do in a lot of these trade offers is sell these picks as though they're massive values and get that stuff working for you right now. If you wanted to just punt this year, I guess you could, but I don't know that I personally see that we need to. If you move a 28 first from Doyler, can you just fill out a running back there? Like, could you go get Kyron Williams for a first straight up? You could probably get HEN for less than a first. That's kind of the range we're looking at where we could start moving some of these picks. We've said this on the stream already plenty of times. Like, if you are rebuilding, you want to trade out 2 future firsts and then trade those first 4 players. We don't necessarily need to wait to make those picks. There's other options that we have here. Like, if you wanted to hang on to one of these picks, we could try doing something where we go from Lamar Jackson to like Matt Stafford for 1 to 2 more years and then just backfill quarterback with those picks, or go to Dak Prescott and then know that in 2028 we're trying to find a replacement quarterback, and then we move some of this Lamar Jackson value to, it would be a deal like the hypothetical deal would be moving Lamar and Ladd for Dak and a much better wide receiver, and then in 2028 we're just backfilling Dak Prescott. Like, Dak Prescott's getting older, but last year he was QB6. When he's healthy, he's been top 6. And if you can get that production from this first round pick into your lineup more, like you take the value of Lamar Jackson, but keep pretty good production and move that to a different spot, we could see spots where that works out for you. The way the league is shaking out here, I don't see that you need to punt out of the playoffs. AJP saying sup. What's up, AJP? So when I'm building trades, I'm going to see, hey, can we just get you Rico Dowdle and feel better about our RB2? We're going to look for ways to find you RB2 production. That could be DeAndre Swift. That could be David Montgomery. That could be, I feel like I had a third option in my mind there that I'm blanking out on. We're going to go through a list of like cheap RB2s and try to find you something there to fill in at flex. But when we're counting out 9 starters for you, it's like Lamar, 2, 3 at Hubbard, possibly 4 with one of the Vikings guys, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with Gadsden at tight end. That's not horrible. And then we get you one, and you have these first round picks that we could sell for multiple players, with one of them being like Derrick Henry. Can we bring in Devontae Adams? Can we bring in AJ Brown? You could probably get AJ Brown and more for one of these picks, or get, like, you might be able to just get, there could be someone who looks at this and says, yeah, I'll just give you like Drake London for one of these projected early firsts. We'll go through the rosters and we're going to look for them to see, like, hey, if Hydration Break has one of those guys. He does have Drake London. He probably won't make that deal with you. But I'm going to go through these and scan there and find, like, hey, what trades are available? Who might give me something for these projected 1 and 2 first round picks? And I would be selling them that way in trade conversations. I wouldn't go overly into it, but I would definitely be saying, like, hey, I think these are early first round picks. Do you want to get them now and then get some of the value in, but then not really sell it as though there's room for a value win? So I'm going to build out a bunch of trades. We're looking at running backs. Maybe we down tier from one of the wide receivers. We're going to explore things like that. I like Ladd McConkey as a bounce back. I like Brian Thomas as a bounce back for you to gain some value this year. I think you'll have enough starters from those guys. We don't see a ton that we need to replace in the future other than a second running back, and that's going to be one of the priorities that we're looking for in trades. RB2, possible QB down tier, possible wide receiver down tier, and then moving like a 28 first to get you stuff in the lineup now. Because I think you're contending this year. You're contending next year with all of these extra picks. If you wanted to punt this year, I can throw some trades in there that would talk about what that looks like, or things that I would do in season if the first couple of weeks aren't going well for you. And that would be, if you decided you just wanted to punt, I'd try to get like Malik Neighbors on here, move Amon-Ra for Neighbors and more, stuff like that. But I don't know that you need to. I think you got a team for the next couple of years, especially with all these extra picks, and you could probably cash in on some of them now. I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself, so we will pivot off of that one. Thank you very much. Those Macaulay Skulkins. Thank you very much, Macaulay. That's at least the team name. Let's take a look. There's one more team review in the queue, and we've got 9 trades. So let's catch up some of these trades, and then we'll get to that final team review, and then we'll close out the trade queue. Makes sense. I think that's all right. We got this one coming in from Davis Amos. Davis Amos. It's going to show up on your screen. How would you guys say this? It's probably not Davis Amos. It's probably not that. But that's what my mind reads. The notes here, I traded for Tate. I'm in a little bit of a younger build right now. So we moved Zay Flowers for Tate, and then the pivot is the 208 for the 304. In this year, I don't really care about the difference between the 208 for the 304. I like Zay Flowers, but I like the upside of Tate more. I think this deal's fine. In rookie drafts, if you can trade back, especially in the second to third round, I don't actually care that much about second rounders versus third rounders, especially if it's a late second rounder. It's all kind of just the same to me. You let someone else pay you to come get their guy. I'm taking Carnell Tate here. What did I just see from Zach? Might be the highest sell value I've seen for Zay Flowers. I'm a Zay Flowers believer. I'm a Zay Flowers buyer. I'd probably stay with Carnell Tate here. I might be one of the higher people on Zay. Let's go to J-Dog in all things techie. I don't know what that means, but I said it. Here's the trade. It's a 10-team Superflex start 9 PPR. No tight end premium. None of that. Get it out of here. Are we moving Amon-Ra St. Brown for A.J. Brown and Jacoby Myers? I'm not. Which side of the deal is he on? He's got the A.J. Brown and Jacoby Myers side. Ball King 360 is the team name from J-Dog. Is there anybody not making this move? Give me Amon-Ra St. Brown. Is this enough to get Amon-Ra? Probably not. That's the notes listed on the trade. Is this enough to get Amon-Ra St. Brown? Probably not. This is one of those deals that I don't think I've said this yet on this live stream. Someone sends out, it gets declined, and then they say my league doesn't trade. The trade is not nearly close. I don't think this is enough to get Amon-Ra St. Brown. Looking at your team, if you were moving A.J. Brown, it would be like A.J. Brown, Sutton, and Jacoby Myers. Like we could add in Cortland Sutton and still not be there. You would have to add a lot. Let's go to G Britain 24, the league Don from Beyond. Here's the trade. It's loading onto your screen. It just popped up on mine. I see it on both screens here. G Britain 24, Don from Beyond, 12-team Superflex, start 9, PPR. One side, Omarion Hampton, a 27 third and a 28 third. Or T. Higgins and Trevion Henderson. I think it's the Higgins and Henderson side. It's definitely Higgins and Henderson on value, and this is just kind of throwing in thirds to get you up to Henderson and Higgins. I don't know that anybody is giving you Hampton for just Higgins and Henderson, and that's how I would look at this. That would be a lot to get back. Would I throw the extra thirds to do it? Which team is this? The person here asking is the Henderson side. Would I send Henderson and Higgins? That's a lot to go get Hampton. I think I'm staying. Is there anyone in the chat that would send Higgins and Henderson just to get Hampton here? 12-team Superflex start 9. I don't know that I am. I don't know that I am. I'm not seeing anyone jumping out saying I'm a moron, which does happen. No one in the chat is saying I don't know ball. So I think I'm doing okay. Next one comes in from E Slat. We'll do this one and another one, and then we'll jump to the team review that we have. E Slat 7, Texans Packers Super Bowl. I've said that before. I'm not sure if I've looked at. I don't think I've looked at this trade. We've got Tyler Shuck, a 27 first and a 27 first for Drake May. The notes say I don't want to overpay, but I definitely want an upgrade. Debating this or maybe a little less for Josh Allen. If you get Josh Allen for less, I definitely would. This is a team that has 1, 2, 3, 4 27 firsts. Is this how I'm taking my team? Is the value on this fine? Yeah, I don't think we're overpaying. 2 firsts and Shuck for Drake May. 12-team Superflex, that's not an overpay. It wouldn't surprise me if they made you pay more. Would I do it? I don't know that I would. I may take Shuck in a first and see who I could get and kind of go that way and then take some of these extra firsts and pair them with the players elsewhere on the team. But I think if I have Drake May, I'm definitely not taking the inverse. So I'm clicking that I like the Drake May side better. I don't know that it's a deal that I would do, but the Drake May side is much higher. And actually, yeah, just on value, I'd probably take the Drake May side and then see if I could down tier off of Drake May. That's where I'm going to leave it. I thought it through. I would take Drake May. And then I would probably try to down tier from Drake May and get a first back from someone else. Because I think you come out with just more value on the May side. Does that make sense? Typically, if you could turn, this feels like you're turning $3 into $4. And then you take those $4, that's all in one player, Drake May, and you down tier and come away with like $4.50. I think that makes sense the way I just said that, because I believe it, because I feel it in my head. Does it make sense to everyone else listening? I don't know. I don't know. Here's the next trade from Short Dog. Short Dog 275 in Dog Devourer's Dynasty. I don't know what that means. Are we eating, well, maybe hot dogs? Gosh, I would crush a hot dog right now. Oh, I'm hungry for hot dogs. All right, in a 10-team Superflex start 90 starters with a full point tight end premium. PPR, full point tight end premium on top. Tight ends get 2 points per catch. There's no tight ends in here. There's no tight ends in here. Eddie Slash, you've been trying to get in a top 12 quarterback range. I think that deal's fine. Were you the Drake May one? What are we doing on this deal? We got Trevor Lawrence, Garrett Wilson, the 110 in a 10-team league, a projected late 27 first, and RJ Harvey, or Luther Burden, Cam Ward, and Carnell Tate. I think I'm taking the package here. It's a super flex league. The 110's not horrible. Omar Cooper in that spot. RJ Harvey, I kind of like still. I like the upside of Luther Burden. I like the upside of Cam Ward. I like the upside of Carnell Tate, but I feel like we're selling as though all three of these guys have hit. And if we're the Burden side, which side is this coming from? This player has Burden, they have Cam Ward, and they have the 102. You get the 110. I mean, can't you then, if it sounds like you're trading this in the middle of your draft, or you priced in Carnell Tate as one of these picks, I think you're getting more value on the package side. And then you take the 110 and pair that with Harvey and come away with a better running back. Or you take the 110 and pair that with someone else and come out ahead. Yeah, I like moving Cam Ward here. I think you're just getting so much value if you make this deal, Short Dog. I'm taking the package. I'm taking the package. We said we would do those ones, and then we would jump to a team review. In the queue, we got Wonka's Golden Ticket coming our way. Fellowship of the Fantasy Rings. Wonka's Golden Ticket from Brandon421. I am just saying things while I load this up. Let's make sure that we get this showing on the screen promptly, correctly this time. Brandon, interested in moves you would make for this team? I know I'm contending. We've just been middling for the past couple of years. That's tough. I haven't looked at it yet. I've had teams where I've just been middling, and I think it helps to track that middling teams that make the playoffs have real shot at winning. A middling team making the playoffs has a real shot at winning. Your team coming up on the screen, how do we feel about it? It's a 12-team, one quarterback, start 7. Okay, we got to get some great starters here. This is a tougher one because the starters change more each year. Looking at your team, like you have someone like, we'll go through the team more, but even like JSN shot up in value last year. We do our best, but when it's this shallow, the dynamic jumps affect way more. Because it's a larger percentage of your scoring to go from where JSN was last offseason to where he is now. But let's take a look at what we got. Quarterbacks. You got Drake May, CJ Stroud, 12-team, one quarterback. It's a 4. It's a 4. Didn't we just have a team where we were saying a team combo that was Lamar and, I'm now writing the words Lamar, that was Lamar and CJ Stroud, and we were saying that was a 3, and if it was Drake May, it'd be a 4, and here we are, Drake May. One quarterback league, Drake May, that's a 4. There's a ton of value that you could do here. Like, even if you don't believe in Drake May as the guy going forward, there's a ton of value of, like, you could just pivot. We might have that as the move for you. That might be what we offer up here for moves, because you could just down tier from Drake May the same way you would in a redraft league. I don't typically take my quarterback early. I don't end up with Drake May or Josh Allen. I typically grab someone late and get that value somewhere else. We'll talk about it. But rating there, we got a 4. We have a ton of options coming out of there. Running backs, Gibbs, Hampton, and then nothing else. Krosky Merritt, maybe. So I'm going to say it's a 3. If we had a better third option, then we'd be a slam dunk 4. But because it falls off so hard, it's a 3. Like Trey Benson, maybe, is something. Woody Marks, maybe. But if it's a start 7, these are not guys like Krosky Merritt's not someone we want in our flex ever. He's not really someone that we want in our bye weeks. We probably want to beef this up. Wide receivers, JSN, Drake London, Tet McMillan, Roma Dunze, Mekhi Lemon, Matthew Golden. Tet's definitely starter, definitely good flex option. Roma Dunze, good flex option. Mekhi Lemon, good flex option. 2 really good. This is like 3. I think we're going 4 here. This is where we find a lot of the value for this team. And then tight ends, Brock Bowers, and then nothing behind it. Theo Johnson, Joe Lee. But we're good. We'll call that a 4. Like we can get by without 1 week of Brock Bowers. At picks, you got your own first, and then 1, 2, 27 seconds. Some thirds, fifths. Is it fifths? I don't really care that much about fifths. Like you have a bunch of picks, but a lot of them are fifths. But 2 seconds, and I think we're going to look at these seconds and make moves. So this is a 2. Typically, when you just have your own picks or the standard set of picks, I call it around a 2. You don't have anything extra in 2028, anything extra in 2029, and this stuff that you have extra in 2027 is all meh. An extra second is nice, but extra thirds, okay. This is a contending team. Come on, man. This is not a middling team. Are there even old players on this team? No. It's like a middle school. There's nothing old here. It's just all youngsters. And we're contending for a while. This is not one that I would call a middling team. If I'm looking at your roster and maybe you had Brock Bowers last year, it felt like you're middling because one of your star players was hurt. Or if we're going back the past 2 years, like, oh man, maybe you're the one who drafted JSN in the rookie draft and he didn't quite hit. And the year he hit, Brock Bowers wasn't there and Drake May was a little bit slow. But where you're at right now, this is a monster team. And if we're looking at future value, you're also one of the best teams. So what do? I think we move some of these seconds. Like we're targeting a running back. We're looking at like Derrick Henry. Can we go get... I would be a little worried about someone like... Let's take a look at who's available. McCaffrey's on the team called Chasing a Three-Peat. They're probably sticking with McCaffrey. No good running backs on Team Recovery from Ass. Who doesn't have their own first... this is someone that may give you you could probably get AJ Brown from this team and I may look at doing trades. What I'm going to look for, let's see, Brandon saying middling more in the sense of 7 to 10 finishes past 2 years. The second is locked as 201. Is that the team from Recovery from Ass? Yeah. So you do have that one of those extra seconds that is likely the 201 Recovery from Ass. And we may try to take some of the players from this team. Maybe we grab I would just be looking at, hey, can I get AJ Brown? Can I get Sam Laporta? And from your team, can we move? Would they give you something for Jaden Higgins? People are saying, oh man, Jaden Higgins is going to break out. Like I'm fine with moving on from Jaden Higgins. If someone is going to pay me as though they think he's about to break out and be meaningful in a start 7, let him. So maybe I'm going to look at like Higgins for AJ Brown. Not straight up. A deal involving Jaden Higgins to the AJ Brown manager. A younger player. They may overvalue a younger player a little bit that has some upside. They feel like they're getting in lower and they give you, and they move on from AJ Brown. We might even go for like Alec Pierce here. Just try to send picks and young players to this team to get the good parts from them if they're not trying to contend this year. And sometimes just being the one going to that team in a rebuild and offering them things, they take a low offer because no one's been coming to them. Might not happen in your league, but we're going to try it. I'm going to tell you to try it. I can't make you do it. I will also look at Mike Evans. I'm going through some of these saying like the ties. Yeah. Can we go get Mike Evans? Can we get... He's got just some younger running backs. If he wanted to move on from Henderson, we might take a shot at Henderson. I know we were looking for older guys. I'm kind of just going to these teams that are at the bottom of the projections and saying, are they willing to move on from stuff that has value? There's plenty of times where I'll just say like, hey, does this guy, Henderson had a bad rookie year. Does he want to get out on Henderson? Does he still believe? Could we get Zay Flowers for cheap here? Could we get Devonta Smith? Zay Flowers had a really strong year last year. This would be like a flex option. If you can get, we're going to throw together some deals that are just, can I get a good player for stuff that I'm never going to use? A second round pick. Your team doesn't need this second round pick. You should probably just turn it into starting starters now, is the way that I'm viewing some of these things you have. You've got this second round pick that should be the 201. I don't need to wait for it to be the 201. If someone's going to pay me as though it's the 201, I want that in my lineup now. Can I move that with Drake London to get an up tier? Can I get to CeeDee Lamb doing that? That's the type of thoughts that I have. We're already at the top here. Like, we have Drake May, we have Brock Bowers, we have the best across the top of the board here. Drake May, Gibbs, JSN, Bowers, like maybe Jamar Chase ahead of that. But let's move some of this stuff and just build the monster lineup, because we're looking really strong here. So that's going to be the guiding thing that we try to do. Can we add a second to Rome Odunze so we're not worried? Is he the guy? We don't need to worry if we just pair him with a second or 2 seconds and get a stud wide receiver. It doesn't even have to be someone young, or it doesn't even have to be someone like old. You can just move some of this future value to get a younger player such that we don't care about making the second round picks next year. We'll just add that extra first into our roster. That will be a very good roster. So I'm going to try to find veterans for you, but I'm also going to just look at, like, do we just combine? Do we add something to Hampton? Like, this is the type of team where we say, like, do we just add something to Hampton to go get Bijan? That's the type of value you have. Do we add, like, we don't need to wait and see if Golden breaks out with this team. Do we just add him to one of these other players in up tier? So we're going to be looking at trades like that. And we may have that in conjunction with, we go get a really good young stud and then we backfill with, do we need Matthew Golden, or do we just go get Devontae Adams? Maybe he doesn't have as many touchdowns as he did last year, but if he's a flex for us, that's a pretty good flex and we can get him for cheap. We're going to look for things like that. We go a little bit studs and duds, but you have a ton of studs. If you're familiar with the concept, like, this would be a studs and duds team would be, you have Drake May, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have JSN, you have Brock Bowers, and then you're trying to piece together the rest of your roster with Matthew Goldens and Jaden Higgins and Cortland Suttons. But you're just going to have like studs and one vet, one cheap option. This is mostly just going to be studs. And we'll put together deals that move some of these future things. And then we have like 1 to 2 vets adding in a ton of production. A Derrick Henry, a Devontae Adams, a Mike Evans, AJ Brown was an option there. That's what I'm going to be building with trades here. If we need to look at down tier options from Bowers, JSN, Gibbs, we will, but it would probably just to go from a great wide receiver and Drake London to like JSN to give me Amon-Ra and CeeDee Lamb, deals like that. We're coming away with multiple big, huge options. If I'm moving JSN, it's to come away with 2 players that maybe aren't as high up, but are 2 of the top 5 options. And then we package in Golden to do that, something like that. I'm speaking a bit more hypothetically, but you'll see the trades in the write-up that we try to find. And then everything that we can do here to move Higgins, to move Sutton, to move Golden, to move Marks, to move Krosky Merritt, and just get that into more solid starters, I think will go a long way. There's still upside in some of these guys, but when your team's at the top, just push further to the top. We're not going to try to go all in. We're just going to take the bottom of our lineup and try to roll it into the top of our lineup, which is what you do more in a redraft league anyway. So in a 12-team start 7, that's closer to a redraft scoring. We want the JSNs. We want the Drake Londons. Makai Lemon could be a good flex and could break out for us, and that's about the last level of player that I really want on the team. So we'll try to find deals that move Golden and Sutton into an Odunze level player or an Ibuka level player. Ibuka would be a good fit for this team as the 5th wide receiver. So we're going to try to find deals that get you into that range. Some of them may seem like we're overpaying with like extra thirds to just make it go through, or I would be fine doing things like that. Kind of playing some of that trade calculator hoo-ha, that game of just like, man, it looks like it's an overpay for you, but it's really just thirds and stuff we don't care about. So I'll go through each of the teams. I'll build out trade packages, and you'll have those on the My Advice tab. It'll show up under Team Reviews. You'll be able to click on that, and it'll have all the trades on the side with why I like that particular trade. And for you, it's mostly going to be that same thing of just, you're one of the best teams in the league with the most future value as well. Let's take some of that future value and get it into that roster. I've just clicked on one of my own teams. There we go. We'll leave that there. We'll pivot back to the trades in the queue. Thank you very much for sending that one in. That was from the team Wonka's Golden Ticket. Do I have a name for that one in front of me? Brandon, thank you very much. He says, perfect. I appreciate it. Brandon, I appreciate you. The gratitude always goes from this direction out to you guys. So thank you very much. Let's go with Khushp with a trade question. We've got the trade queue. What are we at? 2 hours, 43 minutes. We can clear the queue. We're at 5 as of the last time I refreshed it. Still at 5. We'll do these 5. We'll close it down. It was a good, long 3-hour show. We got Khushp with the trade on the board. You guys can see it. It's small on my screen. Let me get it up. Okay, this is the one that we talked about. We talked about this one when Khushp was here live. Are we doing Puka Nacua for 328 firsts and Terry McLaurin? We said no. I'm sticking with Puka. If I'm moving, just for people watching, if I'm moving Puka, I want to throw something else in on there and get me to 5 firsts. A player that's not worth a first, or I mean, this is 3 firsts in Terry, so I want to get to an extra first on top, throwing in another player. I don't really want to be, if I'm moving Puka in a rebuild, and this team was not a rebuilding team, I want to be selling something that's harder to move. And this trade doesn't really fit that for other people watching. And I don't think it works on value either. I think it's still a little bit light. Let's check out some of we'll close that one out. We'll clear that off the screen. Let's look at some of the questions in the chat as well. C-Dub, is MHJ a confirmed turd? Will he break out? I mean, I can't confirm that he's a turd, just that he has been through 2 years. Does that mean that he's less likely to break out in year 3? Maybe. I think the value on Marvin Harrison right now in the trade market in general is pretty fair. It bakes in that there is still upside, there is still downside, but that I kind of like where he's getting priced at right now. Every time I've seen him in trades, I felt like, yeah, that's a fair trade for him. I know that might not be that helpful if you're not digging through as many trades as I am. Sorry. Let's go with Zach, because Zach has been waiting. Chaotic Zombie. He's up next. Okay, here we go. He says, or a 203 instead of Brooks. I need running backs as the notes on this trade. Okay. What are we talking about? Moving Nico Collins and Tucker Kraft for Breece Hall, Jonathan Brooks, and Isaiah Likely. I don't love it. Yeah, you would be moving Nico Collins. You have Derrick Henry. You have Jalen Warren. You have the 202. I think I would look at, if we're moving Tucker Kraft, so specifically for your team, this is a team that has Colston Loveland. Why are we bringing in another tight end? You've got Tonjes, you got Dalton Schultz. Like, just roll with Schultz as your second option. It's been pending for a month and the opponent sent it. Just close it out. This isn't one I would take. I like Tucker Kraft. I mean, there's no tight end premium in this league. If it's a 2 tight end league, you let me know. And then maybe we're looking at situations where we bring in a second tight end, but I don't believe in Isaiah Likely where I would do this deal. And then on top of that, I like the upside of Jonathan Brooks. Adding into the 203 as a swap for Jonathan Brooks would not help me on this one. I don't really like any of the players at the 203 enough to be in the same level of trade with Nico and Tucker Kraft. I do like Breece Hall, but when I'm looking at one side of the trade and saying man, I don't really like any of these players or these options at picks, it's a 2 QB, not 2 tight end. That's what I have it as on my screen, a super flex. I was just giving that option hey, if it's a 2 tight end, maybe, but if we're doing something like this, no, I don't really want to bring in Likely. You did win the championship with this team too. It's not a bad team. We'll be weak at our second running back, but I'm fine going with Derrick Henry. With this team, I would be focused more on moving the 202 and Tucker Kraft for better running back options, if anything, but not this deal. I wouldn't. I would stay with Nico Collins and Tucker Kraft here. I mean, you made it this long without Kraft. There's definitely better deals you could make. And I don't really even like the value on it. I don't think there's anything about this. I don't think I've said anything about the Breece Hall side of this deal that I really want to be grabbing for. I like Jonathan Brooks. I like Breece Hall. I do not want to pay nearly this much for them. All right, Z Mace is the next one up. This was Zach Mason, right? A Zach. We were talking about Zachs. We're saying we like Jacks. I think we were all agreeing we prefer Jacks. Just joking. I'm just joking. It's a 12-team super flex. Start 10. I think it was back-to-back Zachs. Are we moving T. Higgins for... Okay, we've got notes saying this deal is done and pending. Are we moving T. Higgins for Wandale, the 112, the 207, and the 307? I'm not. The notes say, I just made this deal and it's currently pending. I made this trade after previous advice from you trying to package thing with Wandale to upgrade. I think I won, but let me know. I think my wide receivers are elite now with JSN, Ibuka, Jameson Williams, and Higgins. And that's what I was saying. I would not move T. Higgins. I would take the Higgins side here. Up tiering with Wandale for the 112 and then adding the 207 and 307. I am totally fine moving on from the 207 and 307 here. I don't care if this gets priced out as an overpay. I think we probably didn't need to add in the 307, but I don't care. I don't necessarily care. If you're just looking at a trade calculator, it's going to look like, man, we spent a lot, but I don't care. I don't care. I'm moving the 207, the 307 in this year's draft class. There's going to be a shot. There's going to be someone who gets a hit in the third round. There's going to be someone who gets a hit in the second round. I'm okay if it's not me. I'll just take my hit in moving from Wandale to T. Higgins. Maybe Wandale has a good... I think we probably saw Wandale Robinson's career best year last year. So I'm okay with taking the Higgins side here. Even if we think we're overpaying. I wouldn't move Higgins in the reverse. Yeah, I don't like anyone at 112. I don't really want anyone 207, 307. I've typically been trying to trade those things. Let's say it this way. I would move the 112 and the 207 for a pick next year in the first round. Would you guys? I would. And then the 307, sure. And then if I'm saying a 27 first and Wandale for T. Higgins, that might be a lot. But you don't get that. You don't get that 112 and 207 for a first next year very often. So I think this is okay. Zach coming in from Twitch. Thank you for the advice. Just wanted to send some GOAT gifts. Oh, thank you, Zach. I just saw them come through. Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Thank you, Zach. We are here Mondays and Wednesdays as you have more questions. And then each account should have trade questions. You keep popping them in. The Wednesday show is usually a little bit easier to get a trade question answered faster because they stack up from Wednesday to Monday. Ooh, here's a trade. CMG just joined in, just moved Tetford Lemon and a mid-27 first. Life is good. Hey, okay. I don't know that I hate that. Maybe you could have gotten more with Lemon and a first. Maybe. Although, I don't know. This is a big team. This is a deep team. This is a team with a ton of quarterbacks. Just with this trade, what are we doing? Jamar Chase or Bijan Robinson? I am typically drafting Jamar Chase first. So, but that's not necessarily how everyone is. So if we're just making the swap, you have Bijan, you have Hampton, Javonte Williams, Kyle Monangai, DeAndre Swift. Like, you could survive without Bijan, and you just move that to Jamar Chase. I don't have any issues with this. Is it possible you could get him to throw a third on? Sure. Just because it typically, let's pull this up. If you looked at something like this, you're in a 10-team Superflex Start 10. If you went to, I'm Googling, we'll put something on the screen. I use this website for one-for-one trades, Dynasty Data Lab, for their startup ADP. They pull the actual drafts of people doing startups. So if I put this on screen, we've got Bijan Robinson at 2 on average and Jamar Chase at pick 5 on average. So if we're just making the swap, you could tell this guy, hey, the market generally likes Bijan a little bit more, throw a third on. It wouldn't surprise me if you got that, but I would rather have Jamar Chase. So, I mean, I'm just going to mark this as even because it is. This is just the market saying these guys go within 2 to 3 picks of each other in a startup draft. So I'm fine with that. He's also got Joey B, so you could move Dart for the stack, perhaps. Possibly. Aren't I looking? Oh, you could move Jackson Dart to get Joe Burrow for the stack? Yeah, you could try that. I don't think that's bad. TBZ is the next and I think final trade, and we'll throw it to the trade view. The queue is clearing up. It says one trade in the queue. TBZ, and there's the trade. Christian McCaffrey for a pile of nickels. A 27 projected late first, a second, Shadur Sanders and Krosky Merritt. This is very similar to what we had just looked at for the deal, getting T. Higgins, and this is going to be the end of the deal. The end of the show. My wife just shut the lights off in the other room. This is one where the price of McCaffrey is probably a 27 first, and possibly you get a second thrown on. And then someone takes Shadur Sanders and Krosky Merritt and throws it on and says, just give me the player. And sometimes I do that. So if you wanted to move McCaffrey, is this a team where you're trying to get rid of McCaffrey and rebuild? He's one of your only running backs. You'd have Krosky Merritt, a 27 first and a second. Maybe you then trade that and go get running backs. Looking at the team here, should we do this? Like, we have enough wide receivers to go. This is a team, you can check it out on the Twitch and YouTube feed where we show the rosters. You've got Lamar, you're good. McCaffrey and other running backs. You could probably piece that together with a second running back if you go get one. And then the rest of the team is JSN, Lemon, AJ Brown, Pierce, Josh Downs in a 10-team start 9. That Jacoby Myers is in there. Like, you have enough of a roster. Harold Fannin and Gadsden and George Kittle at tight end and Travis Kelce. Like, do you just move Fannin for another running back and rock with Kelce, Kittle, and hope that Gadsden is the guy? I'd be fine with running with this team. If you wanted to start a rebuild, I think you're getting enough bits and bobs to go for it. But actually, in a one quarterback league, I don't care about Shadur at all. The first and second for McCaffrey is probably enough. I'm going to call this like an even deal. I don't know that you need to do this. For the general, just in a vacuum, is this enough? Yeah. Maybe if I had this team, I'd be moving McCaffrey. Like, I don't know that I would actually need to do a ton more. Maybe I'd say hey, I'm only moving McCaffrey if I can move Jacoby Myers. I'll do stuff like that in trades where I'm starting a rebuild. But I don't know that you need to be rebuilding. I'm not sure I see the vision for moving McCaffrey from this team, is what I'll say. I'm going to mark this as even. I probably would just hang on to McCaffrey with this team. And that has cleared out the queue. We'll clear that one off the screen. The trade queue is empty. The team review queue is empty. We're at 2 hours, 56 minutes. We'll shut it down. We will be back on Wednesday, 7:30 Central Time. Thank you guys for being with us. Thank you to everyone who submitted trade questions. Thank you to everyone who submitted their team for review. It will be written up and in your inbox tomorrow within 24 hours. We're actually working on our email service. Maybe you guys will be the first people to get an email that goes for it. Zach Mason says, go Cardinals. Zach Mason's a paying customer. The customer's always right, but every member of the Cardinals can go to hell. So how about that? I'm just teasing. Thank you guys for being with us. We'll shut it down and we will be back on Wednesday, 7:30 Central Time. Hang with us. If you haven't checked out some of the YouTube videos that we've got long form videos on YouTube. Check out the TikToks. Like some videos. It won't hurt you. I'm just kidding. I'm rambling on now. Thank you guys. I'm going to click go offline and we'll shut it down. Take care, guys. We'll see you in the next one.